happened. Now, back here where they train, 2 years later, the country is dotted with stadiums in ruins, abandoned by contractors and left at the mercy of vandals. Despite that, government officials have made several trips to inspect these facilities. Let's go and look at the ruins, essentially.
Yeah.
Is what they've been doing. To inspect the facilities, revising timelines for completion and vowing to ensure construction is on track. The promise to upgrade to world-class standards some stadia has stalled, having gobbled billions of taxpayers' money as sportsmen and women struggle to secure training opportunities. The country has hosted some of its international matches in other countries. Let me ask you, is it not next year that Kenya is supposed to be... Oh, no, 2027. 2027, Kenya is supposed to be hosting the Confederation of African Nations, otherwise known as AFCON. AFCON.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are joining Stadia for it.
Okay. In September last year, 1 year into office, the Kenya Kwanza administration said the Kamarini Stadium in Iten was not among sports facilities earmarked for upgrade to international standards. The then sports cabinet secretary Ababu Namwamba said an expert assessment of the stadium informed the decision to exclude it in the proposed upgrades to international standards. Why? We don't know. But President William Ruto, who was in Iten, said another expert review had shown the facility would be upgraded to a modern stadium for both training and competitions. He said, we have consulted experts and we will build Kamarini to international standards.
When was this?
In September that year.
Okay.
Now, last year, the cabinet, in a dispatch from Kisumu, said it would fast-track delivery of the state-of-the-art facilities. In a bid to elevate Kenya's standing as a sporting super powerhouse, the cabinet approved various construction and renovation aspects of facilities for the hosting of the Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2027. This was seen as a glimmer of hope, but unfortunately, no progress has been reported since. According to the ambitious plan includes building the Talanta Sports Complex and extensive renovations of Nyeri National Stadium, more International Sports Centre Kasarani, and Kipchoge Keino Stadium, according to the dispatch. But that one was just dispatched. Atujaona kazi. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, had set strict requirements for a country to host AFCON. So the requirements were set. This is what you must do. You bid, you win. The question is, itafanyika? Among the requirements is that a host nation must have at least 3 training grounds near match venues that meet CAF standards. So let us say that the main venue will be More International Sports Centre Kasarani.
Yeah.
You must have 3 in close proximity. Close proximity can be what? Nyayo Stadium?
Yep.
And there's supposed to be renovations that have started at Nyayo. Have they started? No. Which other stadium is close to Kasarani? Kamarini is not close to Kasarani.
There's one that they've been building, and apparently there's a CAF delegation that's in the country. And this CAF delegation was accompanied by the, let me look at that tweet. Was accompanied by the Cabinet Secretary for Sports, Kipchumba Mur, the FKF President, and others to inspect progress of this particular stadium that's being built. I'm looking at Kipchumba's tweets. Did I see... there was something about it. So yeah, there was something about it, about these inspections taking place, and ilikuwa last year.
Atujui, lakini there's a quote here by Kipchumba, and he said, by the end of next year, we should be able to have this project completed, ready for certification. I believe that was the project that you're looking for. Yes. He visited the Kipchoge Stadium. He said he was satisfied with the... No. This was... he was viewing Moi and Nyayo.
Actually, it was yesterday. So let me read you the tweet.
And Nyayo.
Tweet by Kipchumba. Construction and renovation works at our major stadia are on course. Ahead of the upcoming international sporting events, he had the pleasure of taking CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe on a tour of Moi International Sports Complex, Nyayo Stadium, and the upcoming Talanta Sports City Stadium in Nairobi. City Stadium is now called Talanta Sports.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Dr. Motsepe is in Kenya to assess our readiness for CHAN in February and AFCON in 2027. as well as to attend a CAF Executive Committee meeting. He was impressed by our progress and expressed confidence that alongside Uganda and Tanzania, we will deliver successful tournaments.
Okay.
I reaffirmed the government's commitment to partnership with CAF and ensuring the successful hosting of these events. Right? So they were there. I can see a photo here of what looks like this is City Stadium. It's now called Talanta. Yeah, and they were there at City Stadium's Talanta Sports City project.
So by December?
Saying we shall be ready.
But Chan is in February 2025.
Chan is in February next year.
Yeah. 2025.
Yeah. They're saying, even CAF guy Mosepe came and looked and said, you guys, the way you're looking. October, November, December, good. You'll be done.
Olima, it's good. Okay.
We'll be done.
We'll wait and see.
But these were not the stadia that these guys had promised.
No, they are not.
Kinawote, Rurengo Stadium.
This one that was in Garissa.
Yes.
What was it called? I can't remember. But the one that we saw, the bleachers had already started to wear down. Not to be finished.
Stadium in Isiolo.
Because what are we saying? That there needs to be kind of like an incubation process for sportsmen and women around the country. And one of the ways in which they can do that is making use of the facility at these several stadia.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
When will it happen?
Yep.
God in heaven knows.
So all this, but the painful bit is that in all these stadia projects, money has been allocated and money has been disbursed to some contractors. So a contractor has been given, let's say, 20, 30, 40, 50% to do some work. Maybe some 40% of works have been done. The point is the stadia are not complete.
Nope.
These stadia were commenced in 2014. This is 10 years later. 10 years later, stadium in Ote, Bado. Stadium in Duringo, Bado. Stadium in this one in Kiambu here, Kirigiti. I don't know why.
And money has been spent.
Money has been spent in all these small things. Those ones where you have 1,000 bob, you give 20 bob here, 200 bob here, 50 bob here, 250 bob here, 1,000 share, 1,200 here. Your pesa yako yote 10,000. You have spent it. But you have spent it in so many things that there's nothing tangible that you can show for it.
What would be wrong to say that in a year, let us do Wote?
That's the thing.
And finish Wote?
Yes.
And then we can say, our plan is a 10-year plan.
Yep.
And we want to make sure that over the next 10 years, because there are about 12 stadia right now that are being spoken about.
Yep.
So that you say in 10 years, our plan is to complete 10 stadia. But in the year 2024, we are going to insist that we finish Wote. We will finish, then we will now go to Kirigiti.
Yeah.
We'll finish, then we'll go to the one in Iten.
Yep.
We will continue like that. We do Isiolo, we do Garissa, we finish and do touch-ups around the country. What is wrong with that? What's wrong with that? Saves you time, saves you money, saves you the egg on your face scenario when you've told people we'll finish and then you actually don't finish. Because I can bet you my bottom dollar right now, all these ones that are halfway covered in trash, that the billboards are down on the ground, have been used to make firewood. You know what, Eric? Wallahi, they will not be finished.
They will not.
They will not be finished. Money has been spent. That one is lost. Contractor disappeared, moved to Germany. We don't know.
Yep.
Those stadia will not be completed.
So the intention...
Save a miracle from heaven.
The intention of basically having places where we are developing talent, providing spaces for talent development, will be lost.
Yes, now. They'll be lost.
That's the painful bit of it.
And you want to compare your big brother to your younger brother, but look at what is happening in Rwanda, for example. Why do you think people like the NBA go to Rwanda and they say, okay, let's set up camp here? Why do they do that? Look at what is being incubated for sports in Rwanda today. And then you have things all over the place just because people are eating money. There's nothing else. Eating money, and you cannot see the need to actually foster this. It is your athletes that are putting your country's face on the map. Look at what they did in the Diamond League over the weekend. Why would you not want to incubate that in the country? Why?
It's too much. It's because it's thinking for eating. Okay? That's it.
Not thinking for development.
Not thinking for development. It's thinking for eating. And that's why the Standard also has another story here. Another full-page story, launched and relaunched. Rooftop project stall. It's been a roller coaster ride for President Ruto in his first 2 years in office, as a number of projects his administration has been pursuing in counties struggle to take shape to deliver on his campaign promises. While a few are on track, a majority of the projects are yet to kick off, while others have stalled. So bad is the situation in some regions that some projects have not proceeded beyond the launching plaque. Interviews with residents across the regions established that a majority are unhappy over lack of progress in the implementation. Save for affordable housing programs taking shape in some parts of the country, other infrastructural projects promised by the administration are in a sorry state, while others have been left at the mercy of vandals. North Rift residents claim key projects worth billions that were promised by the president are barely on track. Construction of 65 billion Aurora and Kimorel dams are yet to start, despite Ruto's administrations renegotiating their construction. In January, the president said he'd engage Italy to follow up on the project. Higher. The much-touted construction of Bireto-Tot Road, meant to open up Kerio Valley for investment, is also yet to start. In January, President Ruto launched a number of government projects in his Uasin Gishu home county. He commissioned the construction of a 6 billion shillings 64 ultra-modern market in the Eldoret Central Business District. 8 months later, the much-awaited multi-story market, which the leaders had claimed would bring an end to the incessant hawkers county Askari's conflict and provide space for more than 4,000 traders, yet to take shape. No construction work has been going on for months now. Last year, the government launched 500 million shillings EPZ in Tinderet that was expected to create thousands of jobs for locals. The project, located in Chamase area along the Sugar Belt region, has not taken off despite being hyped. It was to be concluded within 2 years. It was launched last year. Okay? Similarly, residents of Turkana have been left disappointed as a number of key national projects that were expected to bring development for the region have stalled. Now, when the issue, you see, by stalled, the basic definition of it is just by observation. There was construction or there was works going on, and we don't see works going on. That means stalled.
Stalled.
Right? It's not happening. and the number of stalled projects here: Mau Mau Road, Aurora and Kimorel Dams, the 40-kilometer Njoro Beston, Nesuit Beston Elbagon Road, Mauche Sururu Road in Njoro, ICT Digital Hub in Kakamega, promised and missed 500 million agriculture EPZ in Tinderet, expansion of Lake Turkana wind power, expansion of Lodwar Kalokol Road, Londiani Referral Hospital project, and others. Just stop taking off. It is a lesson that should be taken off from the Uhuru Kenyatta years, because that's when they started doing many projects at the same time with no money for it.
Exactly.
Borrowed with the excuse of, you see, we have these giant infrastructure projects. They did not complete any.
We need to capitalize them.
China, in Hu Jintao, and then the other guy is Tam, they did rail, they did road, they did new cities, they did new centers, urbanization, and moved, and you could see. Right? These guys of ours talk some more. Because even now they talk about these affordable housing programs and the projects that are complete. 100,000 homes have been built, or is it 200,000 homes have been built? Are they occupied?
Where are they?
You could say, okay, they are scattered all over the country. There's phase one, cluster one of each project is completed. So, but then, are they just sitting there as structures? Are they going to be like the Wote ones? Because in Wote, many years ago, National Housing Corporation built houses in Wote. Those houses are unoccupied to date.
God in heaven. Oh, so you know what you're telling us? All this money that you've poured everywhere is going to naught.
Yep.
It's going to naught.
Yep. It's paying contractors, and we don't know who those contractors are, or we don't know the connection between the contractor, how the money ends up back into whose pockets and for what purpose. So yes, you will see that there's something that has been started. The amount of money that has been paid versus what you are seeing on the ground, not commensurate.
Totally different.
Not commensurate. It is something that we must address, and we must continue addressing. Anyway, in the next hour, we are going to talk about university education and the education sector as a whole. Wilson Sosion and Beatrice Elachi will be our guests. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 7 a.m.
spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Lal Umaga, and Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has come out to defend himself as for the reason as to why he failed to attend the AIPCA church service where he was supposed to welcome President William Ruto as it's his backyard. Gachagua, who attended a different service of the Baricho Catholic Church, Kirinyaga County, says that he couldn't miss the cake prepared to celebrate the church's 100th anniversary. Rigathi said he intended to attend the Kirinyaga service and then leave early to join the president in Nyeri County, although circumstances did not allow him.
Na ndio hata mimi nilikuwa nakimbia kanisa ingine Nyeri, lakini nikaona sherehe imefana sana. Hii ni wakati ya kazi. As far as I know, uchaguzi uliisha. Ama iko uchaguzi. The next election is 2027. Nyinyi watu ya Baricho mlinipatia kura tukiwa na rais. Vile governor amesema kila mtu afanye kazi yake.
And what was to be Gachagua's official sit next to head of state remained unoccupied throughout the church service in Nyeri County in what appeared to be an open rebuke against his Deputy President William Ruto, told his principal assistant to keep off early campaigns and instead focus on delivering the government's agenda to Kenyans.
Tafadhali tupunguze mambo ya 2027. Huko 2027 ni Mungu na wananchi ndio wataamua. Lakini sasa tuko na miaka mitatu. Hii miaka mitatu haitakuwa tu ya kupanga vile utashinda tena 2027. Kwani mtu anachaguliwa tu, akichaguliwa siku hiyo hiyo anaanza tena kupanga vile atashinda uchaguzi hiyo ingine. Let us focus ourselves on delivering the commitments we made to the people of Kenya, not on how to win the next election.
This comes just a week after 48 Mount Kenya MPs announced Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki as their spokesperson instead of Gachagua. Meanwhile, National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has asked President Ruto to take a quick decision following the tension witnessed between him and his deputy. Ichung'wah said that Gachagua's actions proved that he was not in support of the government's agenda.
That viper on your hand, Your Excellency, the viper, the snake in your government, please shake it off. Shake it off, Your Excellency. Shake it off, not for your own sake so that it doesn't bite you. Shake off the snake on your hand so that your hand may do what the Lord purposed that hand to do.
However, Gachagua's allies, including Kiambu Senator Karungo Thang'wa, have assured him that they'll continue standing by him to ensure the interests of the people of Mount Kenya are looked into.
Ukimuona mtu akikwambia ati tutafute kiongozi mwingine wa mulima na tuko na Rigathi Gachagua, mwambie rudi nyuma. Sababu sisi tuliamuka asubuhi na mapema, tukachagua Rigiji na tukamchagua rais na kura 7 million kura, si ndio? Kwa hivyo huwezi tuambia tusiongee. Hawa ndio wamekula sakramenti, wamekula ya roho, wakule ya siasa sasa, sababu ni watu wetu hawa. Mimi ningetaka kusema nimetoka mbali huko Kiambu, na mimi ningetaka kusema Rigiji, you are our uniting factor. Mimi nitasimama na wewe, Kiambu inasimama na wewe.
A deputy registrar has recused herself from a case against a tycoon who petitioned for her removal before the Judicial Service Commission. Businessman Suresh Kanteria has been fighting with his ex-wife Mradula Kanteria over how to sell properties whose proceeds the court ordered them to share. The two divorced in 2005 and the Court of Appeal directed in 2015 that properties in South Sea and Gigiri be sold and shared in a ratio of 3-1 in favor of the man. Suresh owns 2 houses and a plot in South Sea and another parcel of land in Gigiri. And finally, in the international scene, the FBI is investigating what it said is an apparent assassination attempt on Donald Trump at his Florida Golf Club Sunday. The second time in 2 months, there's been an apparent attempt on the former president's life. His campaign said Trump is, however, safe and was not harmed in the incident. Palm Beach County Sheriff Rick Bradshaw said that his office was informed at 1:30 p.m. ET of shots fired by the Secret Service when agents fired at a man who had a rifle in the bushes along the perimeter of the Trump International Golf Club. That's the news wire. I'm Lydiah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, where are we this morning? Traffic coming off of the Eastern Bypass is going to take you through towards North Airport Road, and there's some of that going towards Outer Ring. On Jogo Road, heading out towards Landis, is also starting to build up at the Kamkunji roundabout. There's traffic then feeding onto Haile Selassie. It's also busy on the Thika Superhighway coming in really all the way from Kasarani today. Traffic is building through towards Survey, and then on Kiambu Road as you head towards Muthaiga Square, that is also pretty busy right about now. It's busy on Wayaki Way. It's starting to build on Lower Kabete heading towards Spring Valley. All of that pretty busy this morning. We're going to keep an eye on things and see how they go. We'll speak SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 7 after 7. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy Monday. It's the 16th day of September 2024. The Situation Room is live on SpiceFM, on KTN. Our online streams, we're working on them to get them online and up and running. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This week it's Eric and Ndu. CT has taken some time off to go and recharge his batteries. He needed to. So he'll be away for a couple of days and then he'll be back. Okay? It's about that time. Bana hii mambo. Na hii mambo. Utaona kwa hii dunia tu. Utaona kwa hii dunia tu. Let me tell you something, Ndu.
Tell me.
2,000 shillings with 2,000 bob. You are sorted in terms of call time, SMSs, data, WhatsApp, all of that. All in one new package by Safaricom. You know what they've decided? You pay 2,000 bob a month. And what do you get? 1,000 minutes to call. How you can call and speak to someone to people, different people, 1,000 minutes
You're saying people,
in a month.
there are those who can speak for
1,000 minutes
to one
person on the same day. Hey.
I'm telling you.
Those people are sorted.
Hey.
Ah, la 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 la. Aya. 2,000 SMSs. Okay, the call I can see.
The SMS.
2,000 SMSs. 2,000.
It's like you, unless
2,000.
in one text conversation you say hi, send. How are you? Send. I just wanted to ask you, send. If you're around like that.
You're broadcasting to many people.
Perhaps.
Say you're sending now to a group. You see someone like Beatrice Elachi, who's an MP for Dagoretti North, and she wants to talk to her constituents. She can then send one message to 2,000 people. Kujeni, Skuflani, Katina Primary School, Mukutano. You see?
That makes sense.
Now that helps.
Yeah.
Okay?
That helps.
Yeah. So 2,000 SMSs, 17 GB of data. That's a lot of data.
17 GB.
17 GB.
Oh, wow,
of data.
17 GB. Here, my mind is still wrapped around.
At you want 17 GB of data.
Hey.
And because we know, all of you people, much of your data is actually spent on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is free. So even that 17 GB, you're not spending it on WhatsApp.
No.
WhatsApp is free. 2,000 shillings. All you need to do is go to my Safaricom app and you select the all-in-one package, or you do *544#. *544#. *544#. It brings a suite of options. Choose the Go Monthly option. And then after the Go Monthly option, then select one.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Vitu zinaonaje maneno?
Hiyo leo Safaricom wametuokoa.
Si ndio?
Kabisa.
Wamekuonea mbali. Wakakuja.
Wamejua shida iko Kenya.
Bas. Only 2,000 bob. Welcome, Beatrice. Beatrice Elachi, MP, Dagoretti North Constituency. Good to have you back in the studio.
Thank you.
And she's here alongside Wilson Sosion, former NAT Secretary General. Wilson, good morning.
Well, good morning, Latiff.
You know, the last time you were advising the government, what are you now? What?
I was advising government.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any official position
Not
of
official.
advisory.
Not official. I asked you whether it's official now that you're not got in the CAS position, and you said we are helping.
Yes, of course. It's common knowledge that I'm a supporter of Kenya Kwanza administration, and I'm part of the entire political network, but not necessarily government.
Very good.
Yeah, so we speak out within that space and outside that space. Like this platform. This is your platform. This is not a government platform.
It is not.
So I'll speak my mind to Kenyans and to government at the same time.
And that's why I
speak freely.
We like inviting you so that you can speak freely. You're here, both of you, so we can talk about education. And before we delve into matters of education, Ndu will tell you about loop. Why wait while you can loop it?
Why wait when you can loop it? Let's talk about Loop for business this morning, right? So downloading the Loop app as a person who is in business allows you to do a number of things. You can pay merchants, you can pay your business utility bills, you can accept payment from merchants. Those who are buying and selling on this app allows you to do everything that you need to do as concerns your business. You can then also post your promotional ideas and your promotional material on the app so that everybody else who is on the app gets to see what you're up to. You can also then get to accept easy payments from your clients. You can also look at ways in which you can transact without an issue whatsoever. So Loop is for everybody, but today at this point focusing on business and what it really allows you to do. So look at that world where you can accept and make payments, you can transact, you can get the best rates for these transactional fees, as well as post and promote your business on the app. So all we're asking you to do today is get onto your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store, download the Loop app and get into this world of business where everything works well and works concurrently. And really the question is, why wait?
Well, you can loop it. Very good. I'm going to welcome you with the day's proverb courtesy of CT. You know what CT does. He has left us with the proverbs. This week the proverbs are from Libya. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And I know, there are people who say Libya is two parts of Libya. No. We are dealing with Libya, the country, whose headquarters is Tripoli. Ile ingine, watajisort. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered. I'll start with you, Mtumishi Beatrice Elachi.
The naked man
in the caravan has peace of mind.
Peace of mind.
Yep. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered.
Is uncovered?
Yes.
Hey, if the naked man is in a caravan and has peace, the one who is outside now is the one who has no peace of what is happening now there.
She said, what is happening out there?
What is happening out there?
What's going on here?
The naked man, you know, there are people, let's say, for example, in our country, who are out there. They have a lot of peace in their mind. A lot. Especially, let's say, those who are in the rural, in the forests, they have no idea this naked world that we are in on this other side, how we are bungling each other and uncovering each other. And I think government is in that state at the moment. When I look at the political...
Government is in the forest.
No, the people are the forest. When I look at government today, I am wondering what is happening there. They are uncovering each other in a manner that is not very good. That will... you find now the Mwananchi is having more peace than the person who decided to get into this government. So I think I will say that it is important for us to look, and I'm putting it in our political landscape. For the last 2 days, what I have seen, that uncovering of each other is not going to help anyone. And they need to look at it properly.
Okay.
And they realize that those who are inside somewhere are looking at them and wondering what is happening and where are they taking the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Association?
You know, Mwalimu Nyeri, one time when the World Bank was pressurizing African countries to live on loans, he told Tanzanians, we would rather live in poverty but happy than to rely on World Bank money. So if somebody has covered himself with clothes that does not belong to him, then it's a bother. It's not yours. Yes, you are in some sort of comfort, some bliss, some happiness, some glory. But what is giving you glory is not yours. You are insecure.
False.
It is false. It is utter pretense. But someone who doesn't have any clothes, doesn't bother about anything, you enjoy, you are in peace, you are not bothered whether you have a cloth or not. So this is a matter of choice. What is yours is yours. When you don't have, you don't have. Yeah. But you don't cheat yourself with others.
Oh, yeah.
When you're beholden.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Thank you very much. I want to start with you, Wilson. The country is still in shock at what happened at Hillside and Asha. And we had 3 days of national mourning last week. The post-mortem exercise has been going on. Their parents will still want to find out. They want closure. They just want their children identified, and then they can go ahead and conduct some sort of just closure ceremonies, whether it's burials or not. But this is not the first time that we see fires like this happening in schools. It's happened many times before. We've had a conversation with you before about school fires. When you see what happened in Russia, and then you see these other fires in the other schools, what immediately comes to mind?
And I've got to relive my conversations with you last time here. I talked about two things that have collapsed at the education sector. Accountability structures for the funds that we send to school. Nobody audits. Nobody checks. And we put in so much money that nobody really gives feedback of the value it does. That's one. Number two, deliberate collapse of quality assurance and standard or inspectorate section, so that our schools are not inspected against the set out policies and the minimum standards. And nothing much has changed. Nobody seems to listen. Nobody seems to care. And so in the Russia is, to me, it didn't surprise me. It didn't, and there are many other Endarashas out there. If you look at Endarasha, for example, the dormitory, the school is private. That's number one. Now, being private, what is our policy about enforcement of regulations and compliance of minimum standard by private schools in Kenya? Who gave the license and the permit for the school to operate without meeting the minimum standards? Why? Look at the dormitory. It's made of timber. The partitions is made of timber. The beds are made of timber. And the doors are locked from outside at night. And it is congested. You know, when you make a timber dormitory, you're preparing an incinerator to incinerate children. And I don't think within the plans and designs of the ministry, dormitories made of timber are approved for any school. That would be a great and inherent risk.
I think there are standards that clearly stipulate the materials to be used.
Of course. No, there is no provision for building up of wooden structures as dormitories in our schools, particularly when you're talking about boarding schools, secondary schools, primary school. I don't think there is that provision. That said, all our buildings must meet minimum international standards.
And so you're saying if there was standard quality assurance that they would have been able to find out that such a thing existed and done something about it?
Yes, but then even the quality assurance would have generated a report before the registration of the schools. Was that done? There are many questions that goes into it. And you see, there was an allegation that it was an electric fault. We have found a very good excuse of hiding behind electric faults with these coal fires. But since Kenya Power has come out and has dismissed that allegation that there was no electric fault, so that this fire at Endarasha was deliberate arson, is a criminal action. And yes, it's criminal action. That's a fact. Those who fear saying so, yes, let's accept to mourn, but also let's take action. The DCI, DPP, they should be able to get those responsible. But who must bear the responsibility? Two people, the proprietor of the school and the Ministry of Education. Whoever authorized the certification of the school to operate, a person must take responsibility. We must learn to punish those who violate crimes and violate our policies. But we should not allow cartels to reign supreme in the sector. You know, what is happening? If private schools are getting a leeway to put up substandard structures and violate regulations merely to make business using our children, that indeed is immoral, it's unacceptable. It is not educational at all, it's unpatriotic. And therefore, to me, this must be punished. For deterrent reasons, this must be punished. The proprietor of the school and the ministry. We don't need to talk about it, mourn, put the flag at half-mast for a few days and forget about it. And then we continue again witnessing fires in secondary schools, and fires are in dormitories. I said it in 2017, 2018. I talked about very loudly that we must be able to check why are dormitories being burnt? Why not classrooms? Why not labs? Why not dining halls? Why not food stores? The students know. Why not school buses? Why only the dormitory? You know, the Jubilee administration, and you see this is where when we take over even education and we run it politically using cartels, these are the things we get. And we don't seem to be getting out of that that platform. We still run cartel issues. When Jubilee administration woke up from nowhere and directed that we have 100% transition to secondary school without giving proper guidelines and conversation, because if we needed 100% transition, we should have restricted it to day schools and controlled enrollment in boarding schools. But now what happened, coupled with the amount of money that comes with capitation, the more the students, the more the capitation, and the more the business in procurement, the more the corruption, the more the everything that you know all about. So the easiest thing to do is to congest students in dormitories. Some schools have prepared triple deckers. Some students are sleeping in 2s, in 3s, and with poor sanitation and with poor everything. What do you expect students to do? To react? To me, this banning of dormitories is being executed by students to express their disaffection. And I wonder how long it's going to take us to understand this. The 100% transition that caused the over-enrollment and congestion in boarding schools very deliberately is something that was not checked. We should have executed 100% transition through clear professional policies guided by quality assurance and with inspection reports of preparedness of schools in terms of infrastructure and boarding, and schools that do not have capacity to accommodate extra students in boarding should be restricted not to do so. because what we are witnessing
is something else.
Yes.
Let me pause
if you visit some of these secondary schools where there is a lot of congestion, you will weep and you luckily shed tears.
What are we saying here, Wilson? Are we saying that we do not have a sufficient number of secondary schools in this country to accommodate the children that are coming from primary school?
How many day schools do we have? How many day secondary schools do you have in Kenya? And all you need for day secondary schools is classrooms, laboratories, and available teachers, and that's enough. You don't need anything else. And I need to tell you, if we go by data, I have been a very strong proponent of day education for the entire period I've been in leadership at NAT. And I helped put up very many day schools in Bomet. And this has been a general campaign through EFA goals, Education for All goals, 2000 to 2015, which advocated for all children to come to school. And we could not do it without opening up day education in Kenya and enhancing quality. And I can tell you that today in 2024, 74% of the students in secondary schools are in day schools. They are day scholars. They are doing well, and Kenyans have accepted. It has become a norm. And in terms of national exams, at KCSE level, we have quite a number of them scoring A's and doing very well and proceeding to universities.
So then why do we have congestion in the boarding school?
The congestion in boarding school is more to do with business and lack of regulation of enrollment and operations of boarding schools.
Is it that we have fewer boarding schools than that would?
Do we need more anyway? We need to phase them out. If we are at 74%. We're at 74% day education, we can move even up to 90%. Let me tell you what happens in many jurisdictions
what leads to this
in terms of systems. Let me tell you what happens in many jurisdictions in terms of systems. If you go to the US, for example, all schools are almost day, all schools. And government provides free transport to all children. And that's the responsibility of the respective counties within the different states. The boarding schools are only meant for the approved in the US. That is the US. If you go to Philippines, all schools are day on the absolute up to Form 4 at the basic education. If you go to the north, the UK and the rest, it's more or less the same, except in the UK there are very good boarding schools. You see, like the royal family, because the king and the people, they were travelers and people around the world. So boarding was essential and promoted. But in Africa, where we are, we have got that kasumba of boarding because the boarding schools were meant to civilize Africans against their culture and everything. But now that since we are an independent country and we are talking about equitable quality education for all, we should not have all this discrimination of classifications of schools. Some are boarding and whatnot, and where children are even dumped as early as grade 4. Grade 4, you are dumping a child. And we are talking about development of values. Values is a continuum between home setting and the school. And that is why I think as a country, we no longer need much of boarding schools. And the 100% transition could have worked extremely well if it was focused on day school and investments done in day school, investment in terms of building up quality, modern classrooms, quality laboratories, deploying adequate teachers, and providing a broad-based curriculum that is available anywhere. The students will still do very well, and we have seen this. It works.
Elachi, you spoke about this and we went over it last week, to a certain degree, where you echoed the same words that Wilson speaks about this morning, and you said that there's no need. You can't have a grade 4 pupil, you shouldn't have a grade 4 pupil, grade 3 pupil boarding. And that, are we looking at a displacement of values when it shows that so many children then are boarding? And if we're looking at congestion in schools, and we can say that how many day schools are there in the country? Is it not possible to have as many students as possible in these day schools? But then also looking at the situation where many parents look at a solution whereby they don't have to worry about other things because their children are in school. They don't have to worry about another meal. That's a reality. They don't have to worry about transport. They don't have to worry about 1, 2, 3. How do we create that balance?
Well, first, I agree with Sosion, and I agree. I'm believing that as we go through CBC, we'll be able to try and bring back a few of these guidelines in terms of children being in primary school, day school, up to year 9. So year 10, you can go to boarding. You are able to start taking care of yourself. But at the same time, it's because of poverty that we have taken advantage of boarding schools. But then when you look at, if you say poverty, then you realize it's not the poor, again, who go to boarding school. It is parents who have challenges maybe because of work. I'm supposed to work somewhere else and my children are somewhere else. The best place to place them is in a boarding school because of all the challenges we face with our nannies and all that. But then when you look at the crises that are there today, during our time, we were very lucky. Even when you were in school, there were some values you were able to still pick on. But you realize today, I don't know if it is something as parents we have done wrong to our children, or somewhere because of that boarding school, we left a gap that our children are in a crisis in, and we can't see. Because when we were in, for example, in Machakos on Friday, and you look at how the students are asking questions and even commanding, and you're like, in our time, this will not have happened. As much as we would be disgruntled, all of us who are here will not have done the things our children are doing today. And you know, at that time, this child doesn't believe even her own upkeep can be shared. Yet in our time, you take your money back home to take others in high school, and this was money that was meant for you, which is a loan.
Yep.
And here my child is telling me that, why are you even giving me a loan? But in he or her mind, I was asking myself, from home, have you just left your mom wondering even where to get transport to take you to school? So if you are unable to understand that, and you're questioning, why do you bring my parent in this? Why is it that? And I said, no. We've lost our children. This generation, we've lost it. And we need to think through and see how to just help the ones who are coming through CBC to be the ones who will come up and become a different generation also, to build the country.
Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation shortly. Beatrice Elachi is a member of parliament for Dagoretti North constituency. Wilson Sosion is former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, former MP as well. Here we are talking about the education sector and looking at what is ailing the sector, what needs to happen, so we make sure that we are covering everybody. Like Wilson has said, education for all, making sure that there is equity in access to education, quality education for every child in the country, and safety and standards ensured across board. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Kenyans abroad, sending money home should be simple and stress-free. Stay connected back home. Open your Credit Bank Nyumbani Diaspora account today by visiting www.creditbank.co.ke. Just a few clicks and you're all set to send love and support back to your loved ones. And that's not all. Explore a world of possibilities, including investment opportunities. It's fast, easy, and secure, bringing you closer to the moments that matter most. Visit creditbank.co.ke or call +254 70 907 2000 to learn more. Credit Bank is regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. 3 to 7 p.m. doesn't need to be the dreary end-of-day routine.
Delicate. So hold on. So you do your whole body aside from your nipples. That's what you're saying.
Tune in to the Spice Drive Monday to Friday and get your engine started.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 12. 13 will be the low in sunny Nakuru, going to highs of 26. And highs of 25 and lows of 14 is what we'll see in Nyeri. It's sunny at 15 in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 11. While a sunny Mombasa will see highs of 30 and lows of 23, a sunny Malindi will see highs of 30 and lows of 24. Kisumu at 21 is sunny, highs of 31, and at 19 it's sunny in Kakamega with highs of 30 and lows of 16. Kampala sunny at 20 with highs of 29, while Dar es Salaam sunny at 21 with good highs of 29. Looking into a partly sunny Johannesburg at 11, at 18 with highs of 26 and lows of 14, while Mogadishu at 26 is sunny with highs of 30. Addis Ababa at 13, sunny conditions through Monday with highs of 21 and lows of 11. It's a cloudy morning at 26 in Lagos with highs of 31, and at 23 it's clear in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 31. All right, getting into traffic hour, and it's starting to look pretty busy in most parts of the city today. As you come into the CBD from Thika Superhighway, it's going to slow down. It's coming in all the way from just before Clay Works towards Kasarani, out towards the city centre. We're also looking at traffic around the Pangani roundabout, the Muranga Road through towards Globe Cinema roundabout, and on James. Coming in from James Gishuru, some traffic as well. Just going to take a quick look at what's coming off of Wangari Maathai Way, as well as both directions on Kiambu Road. That's very busy. Waiaki Way is busy, and all this traffic coming in from Lavington out towards Waiaki Way is doing the thing. Ngong Road, very busy as well. Coming off of Naivasha Road through towards the city this morning. Langata Road is starting to pile up, and it's going to be a busy Monday. Let's keep talking. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
SpiceFM. Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Conversation continues. We thank everybody who's joining us across, whether it's on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, on KTN, on Spice FM. Our guests this morning, Beatrice Elachi, MP, Dagoretti North, Wilson Sosion, former MP and former NAT Secretary General. No.
Wilson, I want to come back to you. You talk about quality assurance and standards. Just the other day, we saw that the High Court has given notice to the Ministry of Education and given 60 days within which the Standards and Assurance Council must be set up. So I want to look back and ask the question. I mean, you've been harping on the issue of standards and trying to at least make sure that they exist before you even try to maintain them. Why was this not done before? There are education officers around the country. They work for the Ministry of Education. This is the job that they're supposed to do. Why has that not happened? Let's even say 5 years. Let's not talk about 20.
You know, in the dictionary, there is a word called impunity. And when individuals choose the route of impunity, this is what we witness. There is no education system in any jurisdiction anywhere in the world that goes on without being regulated. And it is regulated by the inspectorate section. And these are common practice in all the Commonwealth countries. To the extent that if the president today would want a report about, say, Endarasha and the school fires, that report will not be submitted by the minister. It is not the business of the minister. It is the business of the chief inspector of schools or the director quality assurance who is mandated by law. When we were writing the Basic Education Act 2012, yours truly was the national chairman at that time, and Mutula Kilonzo was the cabinet secretary education. We put in Section 64, Clause 64 of the Basic Education Act, establishment of Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council. And a semi-autonomous entity within the ministry that would recruit the best teachers and conduct the business of quality assurance. But the cabinet ministers who assumed office during Jubilee administration rubbished that clause, deliberately refused to establish the Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council, and essentially that department almost ceased to function. It was not funded. It never recruited new officers.
Why would they do that? And why would they deliberately refuse to do something which essentially would actually show that you're doing your job?
I would also like you to go there and ask them why they did that. We did raise these concerns, but there was a fear that an independent entity would take away some of the authority of the ministry. But I think there's more than meets the eye. Where there's money, there are always cartels.
There's always somebody who wants to be there.
The interest, because if you look at, if you track the disbursement of free education money, there are things you can't explain. If you tell Kenyans that every child is receiving 22,000 shillings in secondary school, and the money that really gets to school is 16,000, and some of the money is retained at the headquarters to buy books and to do other things, then you can see a lot of accounting queries. And if you tell head teachers to return some, I think 10 shillings per child to the ministry times 15 million children, that translates to how many millions? And that tells you that there are vicious cartel interest making money out of this. And if you are to make money, you don't need an extra eye to watch over you. And I dare say the funding system of free education in Kenya is invested by cartels who do not want a working regulatory entity like the quality assurance. I dare say so, and I'll be vindicated with time. And you look at the policies that have been brought in also, it's more business oriented, including even the rollout of CBC, which was it was not done professionally. You can change a curriculum, nothing wrong. Bring in CBC today, bring in DDD something the next day, but do it professionally. That's what we said. But when we elect not to do things professional, that's where we go wrong. So I
want to ask a question about
Latiff. Essentially, ministers have elected which clauses of the law of basic education they want to comply with and which ones to violate. So Clause 64 has not only been violated, it has been defiled by previous ministers. Because how do you run education without quality assurance in place? And I'm happy the court returned a verdict the other day and gave the new minister 60 days. And I've checked with the minister, and he's keen to ensure that it is established. And so we are waiting for the expiry of 60 days, without which we will be going around in circles with all these issues.
We will be back here.
Never talk about mounting education without a regulatory body in place to guide you, to tell you when you are going wrong and what to do.
Please inform us, Wilson. This Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council, what's the structure? How is it structured? Is it run by a board, a secretariat? How is it supposed to run? And what mandate does it have? You say it's semi-autonomous.
First of all, let's begin from known to unknown.
Yes.
In the Ministry of Education, previously, before the name was changed from Inspectorate, it was changed to quality assurance to look more friendly, so that it doesn't look like it is police-like. It looked very polite. It looked polite.
Inspectorate is still.
But when it was inspectorate, do you remember there was a person called the Chief Inspector of Schools? Yes.
Yeah.
He is the one who would close schools and open schools. He would declare the date of closure and the date of opening, not the minister. And that inspectorate was made up of officers at the national, at the province, and at the district.
Yep.
And for you to be recruited into the inspectorate at all levels, you must be an exemplary teacher. Mm-hmm. So exemplary teachers, the best of the best teachers, are recruited into the system. And under the law, an inspector would visit any school anytime. Anytime.
And sit in class.
Yes.
They would come and sit behind.
Yes.
As the teacher is teaching.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So these are men and women who are expected to enforce standards and regulations and guidelines of the ministry, circulars of the ministry, to check whether each school is doing so. And therefore, they are free to visit every school anytime.
Okay.
And individually or collectively. Sometimes we'd have joint national inspection program. That, of course, you get all the inspectors. They're inspecting Nyanza province this month, and then they generate reports and share with the stakeholders. Next to the other month, they're inspecting Eastern, and then now they can generate national reports, so that at the end of every term, you have a quality assurance and standards report on everything, including performance of individual aid teachers, that would inform who to transfer and who not to transfer, who to demote, who to discipline.
And these inspectors would report all of them to the chief inspector.
Correct.
Who did the chief inspector report to?
Of course, the chief inspector reports to the minister.
Okay.
Or at exceptional level is answerable even to the president. And let me tell you, during times of Moi, because you were lucky to have had an exemplary teacher as a president, if he needed a report on performance of institutions or schools, he will not get it from the minister. The minister is the administrative head of the ministry. But we saw during the Jubilee administration, where a minister would like to visit all the school, inspect construction of classrooms. That is not the work of the minister. And Moi was very candid. If he needed a report, he will get it from the chief inspector of schools.
Okay.
And that is a person vested in law with the responsibility of overseeing programs in schools and enforcement of guidelines. The rest do administrative work.
So come Basic
Generation
Policy.
Yes.
And that is the one that removed the chief inspector of schools?
Yes.
No, it did not even remove. The name was changed. The name was changed. There is nothing in a name anyway.
Okay.
You can call me an inspector. You can call me a quality assurance and standards officer. So the Basic Education Act 2012 envisaged devolution. The entire constitution, of course, envisages devolution and strengthening of delivery of services. So in the Basic Education Act, the view of the stakeholders was that we should strengthen the inspectorate so that it does more work. It guarantees accountability. And that is why it was suggested that it be given more autonomy so that it can be properly resourced in terms of money and in terms of personnel, so that it has a strong infrastructure to regulate our education system. Okay. That was the intention of the drafters. And the ministers who came, I think some of them, many of them saw authority being taken away. The way there's been war between the ministry and TSC. The independence of TSC was not independence, was not imperial dictatorship and powers of the chair, commissioners, and the CEO. It was that of the profession. It was not envisaged that there would be negative interpretation and territorial wars between the ministry and TSC. So the independence was basically that of the profession. So then the autonomy of quality assurance and, to be Christian, education standards and quality assurance council. That's where you'll get any report. In case even new media, you'd want to know exactly what happened at Endarasha. You will consult the quality assurance and standard. And you have right to demand from the minister that you need a quality assurance and standards report about the school. Okay. And somebody would have generated it.
Who sits in this council according to the law?
Well, I may not have the absolute details, but of course, it will be made up of professional teachers from the top all through, and the best and the law will guide how it regulates itself. And I don't think it would even require additional regulations other than what the law provides from Section 64 of the Basic Education Act, and I think up to Section 70. And that's an act of parliament. And how was Elijah here? It's an act of parliament that has been assented to by the president. It was part of implementation of the constitution. Tell me where a cabinet secretary who is appointed, vetted and approved by parliament will go and get imperial powers at Jogoo House to elect which laws to comply with and which ones to violate and defile. Because what we have been witnessing here is pure defilement of the Basic Education Act by the ministers. And that is why we're experiencing loss of life.
Parliament is very aware.
Parliament is aware that this law
when he was there, he was aware, of it. So it is just a matter of, you see, the problem, as Sosion says, you see, when we decided cartels will run education, when we decided education is no longer merit, it goes with who can do this. If you ask me, we have people who have been in the ministry for the last 45 years. And so if you have been there and things are becoming worse, then it means you should be you should now ask for leave.
Lighter duties.
Whatever. There will be lighter duties. But it's important because it's very unfair when we are talking of these issues and we are talking to the same people who were there during they had the best inspectorate docket. Now they are still there and they are not remembering that this docket assisted them to see quality education. And I think that is why during our time, education was better than what we see today. The moment we changed and we decided, textbooks, I don't know, will be done how you find a parent has to buy like 7 books. And you're wondering, this is one subject. Then the most sad part, the other day I realized these national schools have very different exams than other students. I was very sad. I felt,
What do you mean?
Oh, yeah. That's why they can never give you their past papers for you to take to another school. Because I thought, at the time you're getting all of your students in Form 4 as a country, you would wish to see them, all of them, join university. But you find there are some national schools, and I believe Sosion will tell us, because even me, I was shocked. I decided, can I ask, I won't say which school, so that we can share with our day schools and see how our children can improve. I was told, no, the ministry will kill us. We cannot share these past papers. I said, why?
Who set those exams in those national schools? Are they
exactly. I would wish to know, because it was something that hit me so hard.
Are they internal exams you're talking about? Or
They're internal exams. They can only share on each other. For example, if you're in an alliance in Kenya High, and you can share. But they cannot share.
You cannot take it lower.
Like say, for example, schools. To St. George's, to county schools.
Okay.
And I'm like, they are all our children. They are all going to do Form 4, same exams. Nobody has a monopoly on the other. But then why? So those are some of the things. And maybe that's why we need that quality.
Come back to the
assurance.
council.
Yes, the council. The council, I think, as he says, it was just played on. And people took advantage that, as he says, they knew that the moment you bring in the council, they take more powers. They are more in the schools than even you. So you get that fear that people will respect the council more than they'll respect you. So
is it not I'm sorry, it's just to interject, is it not a confirmation then of the thoughts that Wilson had put in earlier? Because it's money.
Yeah, it's money.
There's money that's trying to be protected. So if you welcome a council, essentially, that is going to be checking and balancing on everything you do,
yes,
that is going to pose a threat to the money that you
because
control.
Even when the council is there, it will come and say, Ministry of Education, you have not sent the capitation.
Yes.
Ministry of Education, schools are now in pending bills. And so it's like an accountable docket that makes you to start being transparent, and you don't want that.
Yes.
First of all, they will come and tell you the exact numbers of children that are, because that is one grey area. If you tell the ministry to give NEMIS numbers to children, they don't want. But then they will tell you they have 15 million children, that they are giving capitation. But if you ask them, are you sure? Like now,
and we've even
many
seen
schools
non-existent schools with signposts.
Not even non-existent.
And with ghost students.
You imagine we have schools in Dagoretti North. Nearly all my schools have roughly 3,000 kids per school. Do you know? Mwalimu will tell you even not 1 million is her capitation. Because these children don't have NEMIS numbers.
What do you mean?
What does that mean?
Yes. Oh, yes. They don't. So you cannot tell me in Jogo House,
so in reality,
there's some capitation you are sending us here. No.
In reality, a certain school in Dagoretti, physical headcount will be
3,000. Yes.
But
you'll find Mwalimu
paper,
having only 100 or 200 children who have capitation. 1,000 to 2,000 children have none because they don't have NEMIS number. Until the other day, I had to take Huduma Mashinani to try and start getting birth certificates so that we can start getting at least capitation. So you find some schools, and I believe it's not just there. I believe if you look at many schools in Kenya, the capitation is very low. Very low.
So where does the money go?
Yeah. That's what I would wish even the ministry to tell us, because
where does the money go? Because again, capped at 22,000 and some odd shillings, and about 17,000, about 16,000 something is what goes to schools, and that money, even the 16,000.
Now that's high school. We have also capitation for primary.
But if we just look
at,
and
I think that is where money is getting lost completely.
But even the capitation that we're talking about today does not reach schools in its entirety.
Media.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Media, if you can elect to zero down on the correct things to fix in the education sector, you will save the country, rather than having many stories every now and again, negative. You see, if we don't have audit systems in our school system working, we'll continue with these conversations of some students not having NEMIS and others having. Who is supposed to ensure that every student has a NEMIS number? Ministry. It is the Department of Quality Assurance and Standard in collaboration with the Department of Audit Unit of the ministry. Because a school cannot exist where it is registered first. It's a public school. It is registered. Students are enrolled. They are given admission numbers. And I don't think the principal of the school does not submit the data to the ministry.
He does.
And then do we really have the correct number of the data of students, total population in Kenya, correct at the ministry? If you check, there will be so many ghost students running into millions. And the money transfer system, there are cartels. That one has been proved. You see, over time, when free education money started in 2003, the cartels positioned themselves and they perfected their art of operation during the Jubilee administration. During Kibaki administration, I think it was a bit stringent when Saitoti was a minister and brought in the PricewaterhouseCoopers to really manage the school financial processes. But over time, the cartels found their way. And do you know what about cartels? Cartels transcend regimes. They will survive in every other regime unless we deliberately decide to uproot them or we enforce the existing regulation. For example, you are in the 13th parliament. You are not in the 12th parliament.
No.
And
this is the 13th.
No, this is the 13th.
Yeah, this is the 13th parliament.
Yes.
You are not in the 12th parliament. I was in the 12th parliament. There was the 11th parliament. And the 10th parliament is when this Basic Education Act was enacted.
Yes.
Has anybody really ever bothered to ask why it has not been
fully implemented?
Really. And the current Committee of Education.
The most interesting thing is that
these cartels also
when we go to Bunge,
able to
teachers
compromise.
are the ones who are in the education committee. Most people who have been in the education
it really doesn't
system are the ones again there.
I have been there myself. And
so,
I know how it operates. You know when the cartel is in the room.
You can tell. You can sense it.
The cartels sit there in the room. The cartels control everywhere. And that's a fact. Because if really we wanted to implement this ESCAC aspect, we should have done it before 2013.
Yes.
And that is when we'll answer the question that Elijah is talking about. He never needed, as a member of parliament, to personally collect those numbers and go and complain in Jogo.
There should be an officer doing that.
It is the quality that office should have done so and reported. And that data, we have visited many countries and we have seen how education is managed and how that data is managed and how money is dispersed. For example, Malaysia.
Wilson, let's take a break.
If I give you
we'll come back after the news. We'll give us the example after the news. We are coming to the top of the hour. Wilson Sossion, former Secretary General and former MP, former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers and former Member of Parliament, and Beatrice Elachi, who is a Member of Parliament for Dagoretti North, are here. We are interrogating our education sector. What's ailing it and what's not. Some basics. Wilson is saying that thing is infested with cartels who've been running it left, right and center. No control whatsoever from others. It's 8 a.m. news time. This conversation continues after the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The Law Society of Kenya and civil society groups are seeking tougher legal action against Acting Inspector General of Police Gilbert Masengeli if he fails to honor High Court's order to serve 6 months in jail. The mounting pressure comes after Justice Lawrence Mugambi found Masengeli guilty of contempt of court for failing his defiance of summons, following his defiance of summons 7 times in relation to the disappearance of Bob Njagi, Aslam Longton and Jamil Longton, who were abducted in Kitengela 2 months ago by people who identified themselves as police officers. The group wants Masengeli held personally responsible for his refusal to obey court orders. Former NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion says unless the Ministry of Education audits the accountability of structures and inspects standard quality assurance policies, there'll be more other cases like that of Endarasha Academy in the coming days. He therefore says the Ministry of Education should play its role in making sure that schools abide by these laws.
Endarasha, it didn't surprise me. And there are many other Endarashas out there. If you look at Endarasha, for example, the dormitory, the school is private. That's number one. Now, being private, what is our policy about enforcement of regulations and compliance of minimum standard by private schools in Kenya? Who gave the license and the permit for the school to operate without meeting the minimum standards? Why? Look at the dormitory. It's made of timber. Partitions is made of timber. The beds are made of timber. And the doors are locked from outside at night. And it is congested. You know, when you make a timber dormitory, you are preparing an incinerator to incinerate children. And I don't think within the plans and designs of the ministry, dormitories made of timber are approved for any school.
Sossion further said that since Kenya Power ruled out on the fire being caused by an electrical fault, those responsible for the fires, who are the proprietor of the school and Ministry of Education, should be held accountable.
Let's accept tomorrow, but also let's take action. The DCI, DPP, they should be able to get those responsible, but who must bear the responsibility? 2 people, the proprietor of the school and the Minister of Education. Whoever authorized the certification of the school to operate, a person must take responsibility. We must learn to punish those who violate crimes and violate our policies, but we should not allow cartels to reign supreme in the sector. You know, what is happening? If private schools are getting a leeway to put up substandard structures and violate regulations merely to make business using our children, that indeed is immoral, is unacceptable.
The National Police Service has reassured the public of safety and security amid fresh terror threats. There is a terror threat in the region ahead of the Westgate attack anniversary and the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel. The East Africa region has been on alert following reports terrorists may try an attack to mark the day. This included operations that led to the arrest of a number of people people who are interrogated and released to disrupt any plans for attacks. Officials say more measures have been put in place to address terror threats, including the deployment of more equipment and personnel. And finally, learning in public universities is set to be disrupted this week when lecturers begin their strike. The Dons have threatened to down their tools from Wednesday over a pay dispute. This will add to the chaos in the education sector that's already rocked by grievances from learners and their instructors. Two unions have instructed their 30,000 members in public universities and consistent colleges to boycott duty over implementation of a salary raise stipulated in a CBA. That's the News Wire. I'm Lydiah Obaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Traffic is busy in the city this morning. It's heavy coming off of the northern bypass. It's going to trickle into Kiambu Road, which it's doing right now. Let's look at those roads. Limu Road, busy. Spring Valley from Lower Kabete, very busy as well. And on to Waiyaki Way, where we're seeing some traffic clogging up as you get towards Westlands. It's also really busy on James Gishiro this morning. And some traffic then coming in all the way then from Zima Springs. We're looking at traffic coming in from Dennis Prit. And all of this very, very busy this morning. Avin's Collect going towards Oloitotok Road. Very busy in and out of this whole area. The Thika Superhighway giving proper, coming in all the way from Garden City. And before that, Kasarani. Kiambu Road, like we said, very, very busy. We are in traffic hour. Quick look at traffic coming off the eastern bypass from that right junction through towards Outer Ring. All of this very busy this morning. Let's see what happens as we go through it. Talk to us about routes that you find which are good to follow. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 7 minutes after 8. Good morning. Welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. C.T. Muga is away this week. He has taken some time to go and recharge his batteries. He needs to do that, so he'll be back after a couple of days. So it's Eric and Ndu today. And the Employment and Labour Relations Court today and tomorrow is having a symposium, and this is a very important one because it's bringing together all stakeholders in the labour sector to come and have conversations about this. We had a judge of the Employment and Labour Relations Court joining us last week to talk about what the court has been doing. It's been established. So the second Employment and Labour Relations Annual Symposium and Exhibition is being held at the University of Nairobi, the Chandaria Auditorium, today, 16th of September, and tomorrow, 17th. It brings together stakeholders and court users to discuss the role of the Employment and Labour Relations Court in fostering a world of work free from violence and harassment, including sexual and gender-based violence. So, you can follow the conversations by going there to the University of Nairobi, or you can follow the conversations on the judiciary's social media pages. The Employment and Labour Relations Court, promoting social transformation through access to justice. Ndu, Ebu, remind everybody why Loop is not an app, it's a lifestyle.
It is. Imagine being able to do everything that you need to do with your money on one app at one time. And so we're talking across the board. Move money from your account to your mobile wallet. Pay your bills. All your utility bills. You want to pay for your power. You want to pay for your deliveries, whatever it is that you want to pay for, you can do that on Loop. You can manage your transactions that you want to do every month. You want to pay your bills, you want to take an overdraft, you want to set up standing orders. All of these can be done on Loop. You want to make sure that everything that you transact is actually done in one place. It is actually a lifestyle whereby you don't have to run from pillar to post to get things done. All you need to do is download Loop, set up your standing orders, pay your bills, move money from your account to your mobile wallet, do all of these things in one place at one time, just because you downloaded the app on your Google Play Store or on your Apple App Store. Why wait when you can
loop it? Exactly. Our guests are still here. Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, Dagoretti North, and former Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, who has also served as chairman of that union, and also Member of Parliament, Wilson Sossion. We are talking about our education sector. As we get back into this conversation, remember we told you about star 544 hash on your Safaricom line. Dial star 544 hash. Why is it? Because if you dial star 544 hash and then it brings that suite of options, and then you go to go monthly, and then you choose the all-in-one monthly option. That all-in-one monthly package opens the door for you to enjoy 17 GB of data. Now somebody was saying, oh, but you see, this is not home internet. This is internet on your mobile phone. 17 GB of data on your mobile phone. 1,000 minutes to call on your mobile phone. 2,000 SMSs. Free WhatsApp. Only 2,000 shillings. Just try it. You'll see. I've been on it for a while. Like I told you, that thing of you using your phone then to sambaza internet to your other gadgets is called what?
Hotspot.
Hotspot.
Well done.
Yeah. I'm hotspotting from my phone to my other gadgets. 17 GB.
There's nothing you can do.
It's a lot.
It's a game changer.
Yes, it is a lot. Our proverbs for this week are from the country of Libya. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered. Wilson told, and Beatrice have told us, well, think about it. If you are comfortable in your own skin, you're comfortable. If you're using other people's skin,
you can't be comfortable.
You can't be comfortable. Basically, that's false hope and false living that you're in. Maybe that's where we are in our education sector. Because a number of things have happened. Our constitution guarantees every child in this country access to basic education. It doesn't say free, the constitution says basic education. Our government, since the Kibaki government, have said, yes, basic education shall to a great extent be free in the primary level. And in the secondary, a lot of it also is taxpayer funded. Children are to get it. We have a policy in government that says transition from primary through to secondary will be 100%. Let all children go through basic education from 0 to 16, all the way. Now, we have been disbursing the largest chunk of our budget goes into education. What quality are we getting in that education? The Basic Education Act, as Wilson Sossion has told us, Section 64, creates the Education Standards and Quality Assurance Council. Does that council exist? In law, it does. In practice, it doesn't, because it has not been constituted by the minister. The court last week directed the minister to constitute this council within 60 days.
Yes.
Now, if this council was in place, when the minister and the PS and the other bosses went to meet the president last week and told him, you know, Mr. President, and Asha was really sad. Mr. President, we are going to give you, in fact, we are going to start phase 1 of inspecting all schools, both private and public, to check the quality and standards of all facilities and installations in all schools. And we'll come up with a report of what happened here and what's happening elsewhere. If this council was in place, the council would have reported to the president, this is the status of our schools across the country, as that day they were meeting the president. It didn't happen. The ministers were saying, we are going to start, because council doesn't exist. And that's why the two MP and former MP are here saying, it's in law. Were we flouting the law? Wilson, you said, cartels have invested. He said, defiling the law. Cartels have infiltrated our education sector. And this is lending a disservice to our children.
Because is that not what we ought to look at the end of the day? The brick and mortar, as important as it is, when we talk about, because what leads to this behavior whereby, again, education sector gets the lion's share of the budget. It does. This year, 640 billion shillings. Let's look at 2023-2024. 640 billion shillings. We're looking at that same kind of number in the last 5 years at least. So if you're getting that big number, then you should be able to guarantee certain things. You should be able to guarantee that every child who is in school then gets what they need. If capitation has been set at 22,000 shillings per child, and we're talking just about high school, that money should actually go.
So
if we're talking about money that has,
fundamentally,
if we're talking about money that should go to primary schools, the money should go. If we're talking about a certain standard of quality that should be met, it should be met.
And don't forget, it's 600 without accounting for what parents are paying off.
This is separate from what parents are paying. This is
or
also
other funds.
This is also
like
separate.
bursaries.
This is also separate from what parents pay when you go for orientation and they tell you that capitation will be late. We need you to pay another 30,000 shillings per year. Separate from all of that money.
All of that.
And that
so
is
does
why.
this not go towards, Sosion? Does it not go towards real impunity? Because we're no longer talking about setting up the foundation.
You are not very sure where there is no control. Then you are not very sure whether the 640 billion is adequate or inadequate.
No, I think we are sure that it is adequate. We are sure that it is adequate, but we don't see it
as
going.
parents, it goes to $1 trillion.
Now,
as parents.
Elachi here has talked about parents paying more. That's a fact.
It happens.
So that then if you look at income to education, both from government and parents, will run into billions of shillings. Trillions of shillings.
Yeah.
The other day, the Speaker of the National Assembly talked about so many bursaries. By members of parliament through CDF, by governors, women reps, MCAs. And if all that money was consolidated, we'll not need bursaries because it will be capitated against every child and schools properly funded.
Who runs the fund?
Those are now questions. Those are questions.
Why should it be a fund? We have 600 billion.
Now, my argument here, the argument I'm advancing, I want you to appreciate the confusion that prevails. If all this money was consolidated, you'll not pay even a single cent. Look at Kiharu constituency, where the Member of Parliament, Dindi Nyoro, has consolidated quite a number of resources and has worked on a framework of even upgrading infrastructure of primary schools and he has done quite well. And in day schools, he has worked on a specific budget. Specific budget. The meals. He has worked on the meals and even up to the menu.
Parents pay the meals. Everything is paid.
He has worked on even the uniform and the amount of fees. With all this, with the sponsorship that is able to allocate to the schools, parents pay only 1,000 bob. That means if we are to work on a model with all the money that is channeled to education, the parents will not pay even a single cent.
But those are day schools.
And that's for day schools. And basically that is where we are moving anyway, eventually. In fact, the big debate in the House now is that should we even have boarding primary schools doing business with children from grade 4? I think by law we should be able to ban completely boarding education at least up to grade 9,
at the very least,
except in exceptional circumstances for special needs children and ASALs, where you need such boarding schools. But in terms of the money that goes to education, to me, Kenya has done very well comparatively. I've been the president EI Africa, and I was looking at many countries who are not putting any money. Go to our neighbor Tanzania, they are doing 2% of the GDP to education. But here in Kenya, we are around 6% of the GDP and 27% of the overall budget. And you can see, and I was in the committee that drafted the education charter, and we agreed we need to put more money to education. within the Kenya Kwanza administration framework. That is why you see there's a lot of money going into basic education, TVET, and universities. And there are a lot of conversations about it. But the question is control. Are we able to track the money and ensure that it is spent for the purpose with which it is intended, and that parents are not asked to pay additional money?
I think we're able. We just don't do it.
We are able.
Yes.
We don't want. We don't want because the education chain system is controlled by cartels and interest. The moment we agree to slay this dragon of interest, and we run education in a very transparent manner. Before we went for a break, I was giving an example of Malaysia. It's a Commonwealth country. It's a country that benchmarked from us. We gained independence almost at the same time, but the economy is now almost 25 times more than ours. And I had a chance to visit it in 2007, looked at the education ministry, how it works, and how schools are funded. In Malaysia, anything called a school is guided by the plans at the Ministry of Education. And they have a fully fledged, effective planning department.
In the ministry?
Yes, in the ministry. So that if in Dakorete North, it is recommended that a school is needed, that school will adopt a proper plan of the ministry from building the classrooms, building the fields, building the staff houses, and deploying the number of teachers. That's how it's done. Good planning. Planning and planning and planning. Now the question is, if in this case we even don't have a quality assurance and standard department, do you have proper plans and working plans at the ministry? Because you must plan and plan and plan and evaluate the programs that you are rolling out. For example,
we don't have plans.
For example,
will tell you an example.
For example, you are rolling out. You decide that you want to change the education system, and I want to tell you, 844 was rolled out by eminent professionals who were put together by President Moi, curriculum experts, and proper piloting was done. It was not very easy to roll out 844. Not any country in the world can do it. But here it was done in Kenya through careful planning, careful research, and though our education system was supported by the World Bank because we were dependent on donor money. But the intentions of 844 were good, but largely very, very successful. If there were good and meticulous plans at that time and a strong monitoring and an evaluation program through quality assurance, here we don't have, we are rolling out a more complicated, resource-intensive curriculum called CBC, resource-intensive because it requires highly trained, qualified teachers who are properly recruited and properly deployed. It requires resource infrastructure in terms of, because if you're talking about performing arts and sports,
you need all those
more
facilities
fields,
in school.
You need theaters. You look at those facilities, and you need teachers who can teach all that. Resource intensity will require maybe a budget of 2 trillion every year to mount that. And I think the summative evaluation that was done was by Professor Nairo, indicated that we need to mount CBC, we needed 265 billion additional per year. We are not ready to appreciate that fact. And we don't have strong monitoring and evaluation systems. We are not professional. We are ragtag. Let me not even say we are not even political. No, we are ragtag. And we don't seem to be sure about what we are doing.
For me, the resources are there. I think it is just how we've decided to manage the process.
If we don't have the plan,
money is
if we don't
there.
have the supervision, if we don't have the implementation, and we don't have the professional aptitude to do it and infrastructure to do it, then we are headed to more confusion. So I think we've deployed enough resources within our framework.
The resources are there.
But we now need to get organized, transparent, and professional the way you do things.
Chief Justice Emeritus Dr. Willy Mutunga, Professor Willy Mutunga, once said Kenya is a bandit economy. And it is clear, even from the conversations we're having, it's banditry. left, right, and center from the very beginning. From the beginning of the budget making process, it's all.
Oh yeah. It starts with us in Parliament, to be very honest. How we start now taking over and allocating. So we know that in this ministry we want this. We will allocate the money there. Here we are in which committee? Water. We want boreholes in our constituencies. We'll put money for those boreholes. Here we want energy. We'll put. That's how we do, and that's why when you ask Treasury, is it possible to just itemize a budget so that even a Kenyan who is in school can understand this budget? They will never agree. Never. And that's why when you say we have debts, then we ask them, okay, kindly show us on a sheet.
Proper
registry, annex it, and show us that we had a debt of 300 trillion. Fine. We have paid 10. We are remaining this. They will never. And so it's a loophole, a gray area where we use it, and that's how now we start ticking. If we tell ourselves, let us have open tenders where you can see every open contracts, all these things. When we talk about, and that's why when you talk about Kenyan children, you will find we have those who go to private schools, so those ones don't take government capitation. We have those in Nairobi who are in Abed schools, they don't take capitation, and there are thousands of them. Now come to the real who are in public schools. This money is enough to run a fantastic CBC program, even if you don't give them everything at a go, but at least you can give them a good lab, a good kitchen lab where they can learn catering or whatever it is supposed to be, and sports can still be there. But because we are in this mess, which we've created ourselves, and we like these loopholes so that we can undermine and be sure we are taking. But the worst now is quality of that education. Because you can't tell me we can have 46,000 E's, and we are talking about teachers. Then the worst, as MPs did again, is everywhere you want to build a school, to name it Elachi, another one, I don't know, I name it who, and those are things we did very wrong, because that quality assurance needed to have told us, while you build this school
here,
you will need 10 teachers of TSC, and if you don't, you will not have them. So we build a school and then we start fighting with TSC. I need teachers. But you never budgeted in it, which is something, again, we need to be told.
Planning department.
Can you now enhance the schools you have without building another new school? Enhance what you have. Revamp the infrastructure that were done with others, but make it better than building a new school and then coming to say you don't have teachers, you don't have staff, you don't have money, I don't know for what. The same way we are doing with universities.
So now, as we get to that university conversation,
the same way we've done again with universities.
Where are we with that planning? Because if we're looking at the same principles, unfortunately, principles of inaction that are being applied at the primary level, at the secondary level, we're seeing the same thing, whereby there's a bit of confusion or a bit of a puzzle, not a bit, a big one actually, that is being played out at the university level when it comes to the funding model. And to say, okay, so what is going to be done? How is it supposed to be? How should it then be figured out?
The funding model, the initiative, the best. First of all, we need to ask universities, I don't know how they arrived to their school fees to be like 200% increase. That one nobody understands, because a student comes, will take care of his food, will take care of his accommodation, so you're paying tuition. But then the funding model, if I'm asked, and if every parent and child will just decide to do the right thing for him or her to get her funding, it can guide, because it's able now to give you the number of students who are now in university. We will be able to come here and say, we have 1 million students, or we have 100,000 students, because each of them, the moment you are placed by COOPs, immediately the portal is clear for you to start applying for your funding. So one of the things I think that the ministry also did and wanted to confuse parents is this thing of coming in and, for example, you say, I'm going to do medicine, then you give me the program cost. Then the parent is wondering, 612. But if the ministry just decided, program cost 612, first semester, you are supposed to pay this. The parent will know, I'm either paying 15,000, I'm either paying 30,000, or even less. But that's where that confusion started. So that it brought a lot of challenges. Each parent doing harambe at home, the child has to join for. But then, now when the students have arrived at the university, and I remember we asked each university to allow the students to come in, I'm hoping the university will now put in a full department in terms of how students can come in to appeal if you feel you are put in the wrong band. And one of the things I would want all of us as Kenyans is to be honest also, so that you go in the correct band. What we need to ask ourselves is, when you say a parent who is being paid 120,000 and according to the salaries, have you costed as per when you have taxed this parent and everything? Or are you giving a blank salary and yet you're about to tax it, and therefore it will be less? I think that's where that challenge is. And therefore, the bands can be more or the bands can be less, but let it accommodate each child. And let now the university, let them have their committee that can look at the teething problems that they are facing and bring in a report also and say, as the university student leaders, we have sat with professionals, they've helped us. These are our teething problem in the model, and we would wish to see if this can change. Because what I don't understand, the first, last year, the first cohort was able to fill in and they didn't have all these challenges. I don't know why in the second cohort we have faced all these challenges. And now there is an appeal. Definitely the first cohort will appeal, because you'll find most of them maybe were placed in the bands that were not theirs, and they felt at that time they were never given an option to appeal, and now there's an option to appeal. So you can see that confusion again. It's going to be more confusion than what it is. But for me, I think what is needed is a clear process so that students can understand. The universities can also tell us what are they doing to improve, because I don't think it is fair for a child to come from all the way from a rural in Suba and now is about to live in Githurai. They have to tell us, is there a way they can partner with this different Kwetu and the rest to have better accommodations for our students that are even inside? Because you have land, you find universities are leasing land to private people instead of leasing to people who can come in and build in good accommodation. What are we doing with the accommodations that are there? The paint had gone, there's nothing, it's just run down. All those things, they should tell us, because the universities also, the lecturers are paid by government. So there's all this, and that's why in the education system you find yourself questioning so many things that are just wrong.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break. It's 28 to 9. Beatrice Elachi, Member of Parliament, the Great North, and Wilson Sosion, former MP, former Secretary General of NAT, our guests. We're looking at the education sector, now getting into the conversation about the university education, the university funding model, and the whole issue around it. Again, remember, the Cabinet Secretary asked the students, please don't go on strike. I'm going to constitute 2 task forces.
Yes. Okay.
That will now look at what's happening. Are those task forces in place? Are they working? Are they resolving the issues? Are they not? What's happening in this sector? We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. A special report.
Good morning, kid. Leo, to pay our listeners some game. Imagine kuwa na a reliable squad all through your day.
Squad unaweza count on, maze.
Uta enjoy all things finance and fun. Talk of transacting seamlessly. Plus, unaweza link other bank cards kwa app. Ulipe bills easily. No weke standing orders, eh?
Ku access loans za kugrow life yako nayo. It's just one time.
Squad sasa ni loop. Loops here to suit your lifestyle.
No matter what your financial or lifestyle need is, the Loop Squad will be there by your side to sort you out. Download Loop today.
It's not just an app, it's a lifestyle. Why wait? Loop it. Regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Some sunshine in Nairobi this morning, highs of 26 and lows of 14, and we'll see highs of 27 and lows of 13 in Nakuru. 25 will be the high with lows of 14 in Nyeri, while at 16 it's sunny in Eldoret with highs of 25. Mombasa sunny at 25, we'll see highs of 30, while highs of 30 and lows of 24 in Malindi. Kisumu is sunny at 23 with highs of 31, and Kakamega at 22, sunny with highs of 30. We're looking into Kampala with sunny conditions with highs of 29 and lows of 17, while Dar es Salaam at 23 is sunny, going to highs of 30. It's 19 and sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 26, while Mogadishu will see highs of 30 and lows of 25. Sunny conditions in Addis Ababa, now at 16 to highs of 21. And Lagos is cloudy at 25 with highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 32 in a mostly sunny Kinshasa at 23.
Spice up your life.
All right, still pretty busy this morning, looking through parts of the city and coming in from the Eastern Bypass. We're looking at traffic that's then heavy onto Outer Ring, and some of that going towards North Airport Road, Cabanas there. All right, Landis Road, in and outbound traffic is crazy as it is on parts of Jogo Road, and we're looking at heavy traffic coming off Langata Road, coming in all the way from Magadi Road and from that Galleria Mall interchange. It's going to take us through towards Uhuru Highway today. Some of that will go towards Raila Odinga Way, but we're still seeing heavy traffic coming in off the Thika Superhighway through to Survey, and then that Wangari Maathai Road Airway area all the way through to Museums, bumper to bumper, as is Juja Road this morning. So one to watch. Muthaiga coming in on Limuru Road, also very, very busy. We're still in traffic hour. Keep your thoughts coming in on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The conversation continues, and now we are talking about universities funding, okay? So, what was happening before? What was happening before is universities sat down and they costed the programs that they were offering. Medicine, this is how much it costs to train a student in medicine per year. This is how much it costs to train for B.Ed, for BA, and all the others. This is the cost. And then the government was to put in a percentage of that cost called the differentiated unit cost, a certain percentage. What was it supposed to be? Some 80-something%. And then the student or household to cover the rest.
Yes.
But the student also applies for a loan, a student loan. And for many cases, the student loan was able to cover that balance. The problem came when the government was not able to meet its commitment and obligations in the differentiated unit cost. So universities started running broke. They became bankrupt. Now universities stopped being a going concern and they just became things. Enter this new conversation. How can we rescue this? Can we have a different way of funding the universities? Okay, we can have it into 3 tiers. 1, government through scholarship. This is taxpayer-funded university. And then the second one is loan through the Higher Education Loans Board. And then the third one is household, where you pay. The university scholarship is then categorized into bands, and that's what Mheshimiwa Beatrice Elachi was talking about. And these bands are where each student is then weighted depending on their capacity to raise money. Those that are deemed to be able are given less scholarship than those that are deemed to be unable. The problem has come with the number one, the categorization, the method used to categorize the students. It's called the means testing instrument. And the communication that has come in throughout. And I think, Brice, and I'll come into you, Wilson, our big problem here starts from the planning into implementation. Planning on paper looks, okay. Coming to implementation and everybody starts operating on their own. The vice chancellors and chancellors are operating on their own. Health is operating on its own. The ministry is on its own. The university's fund is operating on its own. Nobody seems to know what they're supposed to be doing, and they're not communicating to the one stakeholder, the student.
If you implement a program and it's not working, then planning is poor. And it's poor planning, poor organizing. Something that is planned very well will give with precision the results that are intended. And we are talking about the general decline of education across the regimes. During Kibaki administration, we saw the general stability of education, free education enrollment going up, affordable secondary education, and expansion of universities and universities in every county. The presence. That was good progress. But during Jubilee administration, we saw the general breakdown and deterioration of the education sector. We were number one in Africa in global competitiveness by 2013 in terms of quality and access. That means we were the best in Africa. No country could actually compete with Kenya. But now we have deteriorated. We are at number 7. And if we don't watch out, we'll move down. And the entire sectors were affected. The sector that is affected is the universities, very badly. And you remember when Matiang'i came up from nowhere and stopped Module 2, the self-sponsored programs, which was the main artery of university funding. And it was an opportunity to open up for citizens to access university education. And it was within the ministry's strategic plan that by 2018, university transition would be at 15%. But you see, because of personal wars at the University of Nairobi, where is this conflict of interest bill should also come in. It should be able to check some of these individuals. The Module 2s were destroyed, and that went down, indeed, with the universities. And universities have remained financially immobilized up to date. They cannot mount quality teaching. They cannot mount quality research. They cannot even engage in community development. That is their missions. And when we were developing the education charter, we identified universities as the most underfunded. Even help money was at 13 billion for close to 500,000 students. And you say that this is not fair. Right now it has been adjusted to 30 billion.
30 billion.
Yeah, there's a lot of, and we saw there was every legitimate reason to enhance funding of universities and TVET, but not without changing the funding model. That matter was discussed through the Presidential Working Party, and it said the DUC had served to impoverished universities. And some universities could not even pay salaries. We are aware of some of the universities that are striking now because the universities are paying 65% of the salaries. They are not remitting third-party deductions. I mean, something that has never been heard of in this country. And these were policies that were done by sane living ministers who managed to go.
Sane, they actually live. So I have to ask you then, as you say
now,
that. Sorry,
with the new funding model, the reason why the new funding model.
I have to ask, the problem that you've stated, when the Presidential Working Party did its tour of the country and then did the university level, with the problems that you've stated that were very clear, is the funding model, the way in which it is currently constituted, an answer, a solution to those problems?
Let me get to that.
Yeah.
You stopped me if I concluded my statement. Because I'm now coming to the funding model. It became inevitable that deploying resources to the universities should only be done under a new funding model. Because what existed before was general blanket capitation of students, and you ask students to pay 16,000 each. Those who are able to pay and those who can't pay, you make them to pay the same amount. That was found to be untenable. And therefore, the Presidential Working Party recommended development of a new funding model. of which the vice chancellors and various teams sat and developed the current banding funding model, is actually banding. It is still about DUC because you must declare the cost of the various courses at the universities. Now, where the problem came in is when the vice chancellors alone were allowed to be the only ones doing it. The principle of Article 10 of public participation was not applied. And I think that is why now the minister has appointed 2 committees to relook it afresh and take the process of banding, the banding process, the MTI process, through a proper process of public participation. That is what was missing, and that's what I personally raised, because when you talk about the MTI, you are talking about the mean testing instrument. The mean testing instrument has been used by HELP for the last 29 years. The HELP tool was applied last year with the current second years. That is how students were banded. And you can see that there is more noise this year than last year. Do you know what happened? This is what I established. Somebody set aside the MTI of HELP and brought in a consultant to generate a new MTI.
Really?
That is, yes, that's exactly what happened. And I made a lot of noise about it. I can account somebody did it.
Why?
And in that banding, it placed 10,000 students in band 1.
In band 1.
And you know those who are supposed to be in band 1, the most vulnerable. Now, but when and these, I asked help because a teacher called me and told me, no, my child has been placed in band 5. And this teacher is a teacher who has relied on me to support him, to pay fees, to do many things. And asked, how on earth can you be placed in band 5?
And band 5 is the least needy.
Yes, and
most able.
Yes, and I later on checked, even somebody who declared is a watchman is placed in band 5. Somebody who declared is employed as a maid is placed in band 5. I was keen and I asked help, and I had to ask help. What is happening? What the hell is this? And people at help told me, you see, we are no longer doing our work. Our job has been hijacked by somebody else and has brought in an MTI. The MTI that has been used is not the MTI that we applied last year. And I checked, and it was true. And this conversation has been out there. You have seen in the town hall conversation, the students explain clearly to the president, they explain to the peers, and actually the peers bears responsibility. If you are a PS, don't take over responsibilities and functions of the SAG under your supervision. Simply provide the leadership.
Let them do their work.
Let them do their work. And if help is allowed to midwife the process of MTI, there will be no noise. In fact, the MTI, the MTI, because those who are in band 5, and when the MTI tool of help was applied, at least there was movement and drift of students towards band 1. Band 1 doubled from 10,000 to 21,000. And I asked, have you communicated to the students? They said, yes, they will communicate to them. You see, we must be a country that faces the truth and that does the right things. And this is where I question. This tool and this process should not have been managed by the peers alone together with the vice chancellors. Because at the end of the day, you are making courses in our public universities more expensive than in the private. Because take, for example, this particular case of a teacher is supposed to pay 97,000 shillings from the household annually for a Bachelor of Science in Education. You will pay at Kabarak University for the same course at 94. So what is the essence of? You see, there is something wrong about costing of courses in our public universities. And this is where the Article 10 of the Constitution must come into play, because this is a major policy shift of public participation that involve the students afresh in consulting about this model. Involve the lecturers afresh, because this is the best model. The model is good, but it has been mishandled. We want it to be handled very well. And Latiff, once it is done, and we have a model that is agreed, that is going to band students appropriately, then domicile it in the school career desk. So that in every school, You prepare students not only to choose careers,
but
they should also understand the costing and how to apply.
Yes.
That is
but
how
then
it's
the
to be
other
done.
question we should be asking the ministry is, what is the difference when a child is coming to Nairobi University, going to KU on the same course?
Same course.
But if I go to Maseno, I pay less. If I go to Moi, I pay I don't know what. Why didn't they just unify? Because if I'm a parent, then am I allowed then to say I have this, and so my child will go to Maseno because it's the same career? I'm doing law, and it's more affordable here than here.
How is costing done?
Almost all these gaps, including costing, including harmonizing the cost of courses at private and public universities, could have been corrected if it went through a thorough process of public participation. That will even include the legislators, a forum for the legislators as a lawmaking institution.
So bring in all the stakeholders.
Bring all the stakeholders so that we finish this thing once and for all, and we get a model that is going to work for many years, so that by the time you have the cohort under this model, completing the cycle, 4th year and 5th year, the university funding, financing will be stabilized.
Let me ask you
even the costings will also be corrected. And I think
let me ask you that question.
Something needs to be done beyond that also.
From costing, Wilson, hold on.
Yes.
To the best of your knowledge, how is this costing done?
I don't have the basics of how the costing was done.
Who does the costing?
But you see, it's simple. It was done by the vice chancellors. And that should not have been done by the vice chancellors alone. That the lecturers who teach, and they have their union. Why not involve them? There are students' union, and the students' unions are represented in the Senate. They actually sit in the Senate of all the universities. So then why not involve them? You see,
why didn't the Senate just do this costing?
And Latiff, we did not put clause 10, Article 10 in the Constitution of public participation for mere window dressing, so that we elect when to use it and when not to. The costing of courses in public universities should go through a proper stakeholder process of at least the university communities.
Everybody. Dr. Malobo Ekesa is one.
And if that is done, we'll have the costings done right. We'll have the banding done correctly. And there will be stability.
That help.
Yes, let it be done by help. Don't hijack it.
Don't take it anywhere.
We are not very sure whether it is in help. It is being run by the PS in our own desk, and bringing in our own consultancy firms to every program in the ministry to make money. Do we appoint people to government to go and develop flagship businesses to make money and make lives difficult for Kenyans?
Yes.
It is immoral. This one is wrong. And we are telling the president, if we have characters who are being appointed to go and make money in government offices, then you have the wrong people.
But for the last 2 years, I don't know who has advised the president that everything you have to change the name. I don't know. Because that changing of the name also brings confusion. It's the same way like NHIF and SHIF. So you even wonder, just retain it as NHIF, but enhance it properly, make it efficient, but don't change the name. You change the name and people think it's a new animal that has arrived in the room. Yet it's the same thing. And the same.
And you know,
it has to stop.
Generally, education needs to be stabilized. If you bring in new programs that are complicated and difficult to understand, and they've not gone through the requisite process of processing them, then you create problems. This one of the funding model is the best idea, but it was mishandled.
It is.
But it is never too late. It can be corrected. So that then I would even suggest even students on grade A and A minus, those are the best of the country. And within that process, why can't they enjoy the full scholarship?
I will then come and say a child who went
be placed in
in the rural,
those are some of
in
the
a day
things to be
school
considered.
And got an A,
Those are some
or
of the
even
many
just
things.
a B plus in a day school.
So that is why this banding needs to be revisited.
It has to incorporate a lot of things.
And the majority of the students should be in a continuum of band 1, band 2, band 3. And probably there is need to consider the self-sponsored program actually to be brought back. Because if we have 700,000 over candidature, and at least 400 to 500 are potential to undertake university education.
Yeah.
Why can't you have the government-sponsored load placed across the bands, maybe up to band 3, and then those band 4 and 5 can be committed to SSP. The SSP will come with the money, and they'll sponsor these others. And that's why I say, Elaji, let's accept education is about rewarding. Yes. Those who have excelled, grade A's and the best,
I agree.
Should even be fully sponsored by government and guaranteed employment at the end of graduating without wasting time, so that we have the best of the best joining the civil service and joining government and helping us to get rid of corruption.
The problem is that we corrupted it, sorry to say, when we started a private school for primary. So I go there and I know very well.
And you look for a shortcut to a national school
and I'll be in a national school and I'll get an A.
And disadvantage
the others. Which is unfair also.
And within the Presidential Working Party has also recommended the abolishing of classification of schools.
Yes.
So we don't need to have a national school subcontinent. All schools are equal.
In Russia, I saw there were billboards. 380 mean scores. It was
and when you get to such schools, the gate is so fantastic,
elaborate,
but very elaborate. But when you get inside, very funny substandard structures. I think we've got to work as a country.
I'm hoping CBC is going to finish.
Walk the talk. We've got to walk the talk. Walk the talk, and ensure that education is properly managed. It is reconfigured properly through proper planning, organizing and execution of programs guided by quality research, not political impulse and not cartels' interest, and to ensure that there is equitable, inclusive delivery of quality education, and I dare say quality public education, because where a government provides quality public education, we will not need private investors and private schools and private programs.
But it's my prayer also.
If you look at the example of Malaysia, for example, education is a service, is a high quality service, and it's a major service industry that's attracting students from outside, and is a main foreign income earner for Malaysia, because they have made it the best for their citizens through public, and made it the best for even outsiders to come for education. Kenya has the best opportunity to mount quality, equitable education through public and make Kenya a destination for education service by other countries.
Well said.
For me, I think the best is we have an opportunity to ensure, as we roll out year 9 next year, that the ministry will now ensure that everything is in time. Parents are able to understand how kids are joining year 9. We shall have the classrooms for year 9. And even as they go for their exams this year, that we have laboratories, and if we don't have, we have mobile labs for children to ensure they are accessed well, so that we don't go to year 9 and start again the same challenge in year 10, where we'll be fighting again for the best schools.
But Mheshimiwa,
my child will go to the
Mheshimiwa,
best.
I hate to be the one who casts the shadow of doom. But what are we looking at right now? Unless the current issues, which are digging this situation deeper and deeper, are addressed and dealt with, what you're talking about will be the case next year.
And I'm hoping we shall have NEMIS. Every child.
The one thing that's coming out clearly from this conversation today, the last 2 hours, is the clear and very, very urgent need for citizen activism on education. Yeah. The people of Kenya need to bring all their attention back to education. And what's happening in our education sector. Yeah. Our children are going to school and they're coming back home, and we're not sure of the quality that they're receiving. We have grade 7s who don't have enough teachers. They're going into 8.
Yeah.
There are 8s who don't have enough teachers. They have the wrong teachers.
They have the wrong teachers.
And we are saying that we are taking them to school. We have schools that are secondary that are not getting sufficient funding. We have children that are in university that are not even getting the proper funding. And yet we have a Ministry of Education that takes the lion's share of our budget every year. Parliament should be doing this. Parliament will do it if the people of Kenya make Parliament to do its work. Parliament, for example, has been sitting while the Presidential Working Party's implementation matrix had 6 month to 1 year items. Parliament is not asking questions on whether those things have been done and why they haven't been done.
Has it been implemented?
Why is that not being implemented? Why is the law, basic education law, that establishes a council to ensure quality of standards in our schools not in place? Parliament is in place, it's not doing that. So the people of Kenya, we must make Parliament do its work. That's the thing.
I agree.
And all the stakeholders in the education sector, Wilson Sossion included, because you know what's been happening and what's supposed to be happening, raise your voice. Come and remind people.
And
the Presidential Working Party, the report is out. It says by now we should have stopped categorization of schools.
Has it been implemented?
Has that been implemented?
By now we should be having quality comprehensive schools.
Yep.
From grade 1 to 9. Has it been done?
Implemented? Why not?
Even just
it
to
will
come
only
and look
happen
whether we are having the grade 9s ready.
The graduate teachers who are deployed to teach grade 7, 8 and 9, and actually they are trained to teach senior secondary.
Yeah.
Did we deploy the correct teachers? And
no, we did politics with it and decided some areas will bring more
Those
than
are the
others.
Questions. Thank you very much, Sossion and Beatrice, for joining us. Wilson Sossion, former NAT Secretary General, former Member of Parliament, and Beatrice Elachi, current Member of Parliament for the Dagoretti North constituency. Our conversations continue in the next hour. We have Senator Okoh Mtata, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. More than 50 police officers have been summoned by the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA, over the deaths, serious injuries and other unlawful acts allegedly committed during the Finance Bill 2024 demonstrations by Gen Z and their Azimio protests of 2023. Documents show that 15 senior police commanders, including the Bungoma County Police Commander Francis Koili, are among those directed to appear before the IPOA detectives from today all the way to Thursday for grilling and statement recording. IPOA is investigating dozens of cases linked to the protests. Following the summons, the Kenya Police Service headquarters directed the officers to meet their respective legal officers Monday ahead of the appearance for briefing. The Nairobi Hospital Admitting Staff Association has announced that they'll down their tools beginning today as they demand the resignation of the board of directors. In the notice, the Kenya Hospital Association said that they'll stand in solidarity with the hospital's doctors until the alleged crisis in the facility is ironed out. They noted that no further admissions shall be taken after the strike commences and medical attention will only be offered to already admitted patients. The association further called on members of the public to support the move by the doctors ahead of a planned extraordinary general meeting to be held on September 18th, that is later this week. This comes after the Nairobi Hospital was linked to allegations of corruption and poor governance, as the Kenya Hospital Association claimed that the institution is being operated under conflicts of interest, cronyism and nepotism. The National Police Service has reassured the public of safety and security amid terror threats in the region ahead of the Westgate attack anniversary and the October 7th Hamas attack against Israel. The East African region has been on alert following reports terrorists may try an attack to mark the day. This included operations that led to the arrest of a number of people who are interrogated and released to disrupt any plans for attacks. Officials say more measures have been put in place to address terror threats, including the deployment of more equipment and personnel. Meanwhile, the US and UK issued a travel advisory and asked their citizens to remain vigilant. Due to the increase in cases of childhood pregnancies and new HIV infections in Bungoma County, a call has been made for parents to be responsible for the bringing of their children by giving advice, especially on matters of sex and its effects. Nominated Senator Catherine Muma has said that the number of such cases has increased because many parents hold the concept that it is a traditional mistake to talk to children about reproductive health and the issue of girls protecting themselves from early pregnancy.
Bungoma County is among the highest counties with teen pregnancies, with over 11,000 girls that were made pregnant between 10 and 19 years old. Jamii zetu hatukuwa tunaongea, mzazi haongeangi mambo ya ngono na mtoto wake vile tunajua, na wale nyanya ambao walikuwa wanatuelezea hizi hawako siku hizi. Kwa hivyo lazima turudi nyuma, tujiulize kama jamii tutafanya namna gani, kwa sababu ni kitu cha huzuni sana kusikia mtoto wa miaka 10 amepata mimba.
On her part, the woman representative of Bungoma County, Catherine Wambilanga, has reiterated the need for the government to allocate funds to ensure the distribution of pads to students to prevent them from temptations.
Tumeuliza bunge, tumeuliza serikali, tumeuliza mpaka rais mwenyewe. Tupatie sanitary towels ziwe mikononi mwa women reps. Bado hatujapewa.
Nitakuwa mmoja wa wale wanaweza kuleta motion ya kusema ya kwamba wakipeana capitation pia wapeane pesa za sodo. Wajue kila msichana anahitaji sodo kiasi fulani na wapeane capitation ambayo inaweza kusaidia.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is a busy Monday morning in the city. Let's take a look at the Thika Superhighway where traffic was coming in heavy from Garden City. Now it's reduced to just from Survey through towards the Pangani Tunnel. There's traffic coming in from Juja Road, still busy on Ring Road and Ngara, and then coming out towards Muranga Road at the Globe Cinema roundabout. All of that busy getting into the CBD this morning. There was a lot of traffic, still is quite some coming in from the Southern Bypass interchange with with Langata Road, coming through Huru Gardens out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. Traffic on Langata Road is one to be dealt with this morning. We're also looking at traffic still pretty heavy in the Westlands area. Mzima Springs towards James Gishuru, out towards the Red Hill Link Road, onto Wairimu Way, which for there's traffic all over the place there. Looking in, coming in from Kuna Road, Lower Kabete, Kitisuru, Peponi Road, Thigiri Ridge, Limuru Road, all of that doing the business right about now. We're still in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we come through it. We'll talk on SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yes, indeed it is, and thank you for keeping it locked. Wherever you are tuned in from, whether you're in the country or out of the country, asante sana. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Every weekday we are here from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Today and tomorrow, if you make your way to the University of Nairobi Chandaria Auditorium, you will be able to attend the Second Employment and Labor Relations Annual Symposium and Exhibition. This is organized by the Employment and Labor Relations Court. Remember, this is a superior court established by the Constitution to deal with specific matters of labor relations and matters in employment. Now, Why do they have this conference? They have this conference to bring together stakeholders and court users to discuss the role of the Employment and Labour Relations Court in fostering a world of work free from violence and harassment, including sexual and gender-based violence. This symposium is expected to create awareness on the International Labour Organization's Convention 190 that came into force in June 2021 that prohibits violence and harassment in the world of work. It should share manifestations of violence and harassment in the world of work, share emerging jurisprudence on the right of every person to a world of work free from violence and harassment, provide a forum for workers and entrepreneurs to give feedback on initiatives taken against violence and harassment at work, and all basically to have conversations about workplace that is free from all levels of harassment. Today, tomorrow, University of Nairobi, the Chandaria Auditorium. Tafadhali, go there. Oh, if you're not able to go there, just follow the judiciary and the judiciary social media pages will have all this information. They'll be live streaming it and all. The Employment and Labour Relations Court is promoting social transformation through access to justice. Good things, isn't it?
Very good things.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed.
Uh-huh.
I have more good things for you.
Tell us.
Talk about Loop. Download it today. Because what is it that you're looking for? Just imagine. You want to transact at great rates? Get Loop. You want to make sure that you can make all your bill payments from one place? You need to download Loop. If you can get an overdraft of 100,000 shillings or a personal loan of up to 3 million shillings just because you're on Loop, then you want to get Loop. If you want to have a lock account, savings account, being able to pay all your pay bill and your till transactions from one place and do all of this from the convenience of your phone, these are reasons why you want to download Loop. It's not just an app. It's actually a lifestyle, making sure that everything that you do can be done in one place and at one time. You can actually ask yourself the question, what have I been waiting for?
Yeah.
Get Loop.
Get Loop. Our guest is in the studio. He is Senator Okoh Mtata, the Senator for Busia County. He's here. Senator, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Very well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Senator from Busia, not Senator for Busia. I'm a Senator for Kenya. I'm a Senator from Busia. Senator of Kenya, elected by the people of Busia. There's no Senator for Busia.
Okay. It's not the county senator?
No, there's no senator for Busia. I'm a senator from Busia.
Okay.
Yeah, just like...
What does the speaker call you? Member for, Senator for?
Busia County.
Yes.
That's a mistake they make, but I'm not a senator for Busia.
You're the senator from Busia.
I did not take an oath with the word Busia in my oath.
Yeah. But you came here on account of the...
I was elected by Busia.
Of the people from
the
Busia.
national government.
Yes.
I'm a senator of the Republic of Kenya.
Yes.
Elected by the people of Busia.
Okay.
But I'm not a senator for Busia.
You're the senator from Busia. Senator from Busia. Okay,
yes.
Mtata. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, you know something, Senator?
Yeah.
When you want to have a conversation with the people of Busia or the people of any part of this country and you'd like to converge them and bring them together, there's a way you can send them a message, all right? One message you can broadcast to 2,000 people. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And Safaricom has a way of helping you do that. They have a package called All-in-One. It brings in together data, airtime, calling time, minutes, and SMSs. 2,000 SMSs, 1,000 minutes of call time, 17 GB of data, free WhatsApp, only for 2,000 bob a month. So they looked at, the call patterns and everybody's needs, and they saw these are things that everybody needs. You need data, you want to use data, you're using data all the time, you want to be able to call, you want to be able to send them SMSs, and many people are spending, WhatsApp is the number one social media platform in Kenya. So, free WhatsApp.
It's called what? The package is called?
All-in-one.
All-in-one?
Yes.
Okay.
And people just need to go to *544#. And then it brings a suite of services. You choose the Go Monthly, and after you go the Go Monthly, then you choose the All-in-One. It asks for 2,000 bob a month, and it gives you all this every month.
Nice to know.
Our friend CT is away for this week.
Okay.
He has taken leave. But he left us with the proverbs for the week, and he told us this week the proverbs will be from Libya. There's still now this confusion. There are people who started saying that Libya has two capitals, Tripoli and Benghazi. No, Libya still has one capital, Tripoli, right?
We'll go with Tripoli.
We'll go with Tripoli. The proverb, and listen to it and then give us your interpretation. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He whose covering belongs to others is uncovered. The naked man in the caravan has peace of mind. He who has covering that belongs to others is uncovered.
Yeah, it is true, because I think it refers to autonomy. Once you have autonomy, and if you read some of these people who talk about revolutions, they have always come and classify them and say the weakest group for revolutionaries is the students. Just close the college and the revolution is over. The workers, just deny them a salary and the revolution is over. But the peasant, if he buys into the revolution, you have no tools against them. That's when you have a strong army, when you have the peasants on your side. And the peasants are just naked people in the wagon. Yeah. Because they don't depend on anybody else. But if you have borrowed suits and whatever, if you are borrowing, you are dependent on others, then you are basically a slave.
If you're on somebody else's platform.
Yeah, basically a slave.
It's a very good one. Thank you very much. We saw you last week among the senators who were sitting in the sessions when the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, Davis Churchill, appeared before the Senate.
Yes, indeed.
And the Senate had invited him to come and shed light on the JKIA and its plans to engage with a private investor on matters, with the Kenya Airports Authority, with a private investor from India on matters of JKIA. Now, many questions have emerged out of this. Let's start with the known, then we go to what came out from your sessions with the CS last week to what remains unknown. What is known is that for a number of years, the question of expansion and modernization of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, among other airports, has been in conversation in government and in the public for a number of years. What is also known is that even the JKIA itself, in 2014, a program had been launched to expand JKIA, the Greenfields project, which was later cancelled. What's also known is that this administration has talked a number of times about, we're seeing what the JKIA looks like if we want to make ourselves the hub of Africa and be competitive in terms of attracting the number of visitors who come through JKIA into the country or into the continent. We must have an airport that looks into the future and handling capacity. Now, that is what is clearly in the public domain. What has emerged in the public domain is that there was a privately initiated proposal that was handed over to the Kenya Airports Authority by Adani Group of India. And the conversations had started taking place between the Kenya Airports Authority and Adani. Enter Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill before Parliament. What did he tell you?
Well, the Honorable Churchill came and he either seemed not to know what was going on or he was economizing on truth. But basically, we are dealing with a case of very high fraud. And I am happy the way you opened about what is known. Expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is something that has been on the cards. It's a well-known. So that statement alone disqualifies it from being a privately initiated. I don't know if you get me. Privately initiated is something you come up, something novel.
Someone comes up with an idea that you haven't thought of.
Not thought of. This one is there. It's already done. And if you look at the documents the Honorable Minister brought, among them was the contract called Privately Initiated Proposal submitted to Kenya Airports Authority. If you look at this contract, this is a proposal, it has two very interesting things that are anybody looking out for. The first thing is here.
At the
strictly private and confidential.
Okay.
This is a proposal you are making to a public body, to the management. So if it is strictly private and confidential, who will look at it? So that restriction on this that statement is the first point that we are dealing with something that's not Good, because the government is supposed to be transparent. KIA is an open body. They have to form a committee to look at it. You have private, highly, strictly private and confidential. So which individual is this that is being addressed in this privately, strict and confidential?
It's the receiving entity, KIA.
It can't receive a document like this. It's a public body.
Is it possible, Senator, that what they are trying to safeguard here is KIA sharing this with another private entity? For example, saying, you know what, these are our thoughts on this, and we'd like this to remain between us and you.
They could do a non-disclosure agreement.
Yes.
Non-disclosure agreements and private and confidential are two different things. Private to who? To a public body.
Yeah.
So by dint of it being called a private and confidential, strictly so, it is clear that you do not want this information to be shared with anybody else, save for the person it has been addressed to.
So who was it? Who was this man that was being addressed? Number two, if you look at the cover, there's the logo of KIA. I don't have a problem with the picture of the airport.
Okay.
But the logo of KIA claims ownership of the document.
Senator, we do proposals all the time.
No.
We put our logo and the logo of
No, I'm telling you that because when you look through this document, this document sounds like something that was done by KIA, and you've talked about the Greenfields projects and whatever.
Yeah.
This was a document that was being prepared for open tender. And I want to tell you that under the Act, under the PPA Act, there are several methods of tendering. You don't just have this one of private initiated. Under the PPA Act, you can have direct procurement. You can have privately initiated proposals like what they're claiming is here. You can have restricted bidding. You can have competitive bidding. So Section 38 to 39 provides for direct procurement under the PPA.
PPP Act.
The PPP Act, rather. Private initiated proposals are under 40 to 44. Restricted bidding is Section 45 of the Act. Then competitive bidding is Section 46 to 63 of the Act. So it's not that private capital can only come into a country through a PPP. As the minister was arguing the other day that the country does not have the money to do the airport, therefore we are going this route. The Act provides for several ways of somebody coming in. And given that this Greenfield is a project that had been thought of by the government, and had even been attempted before and what have you, it cannot be privately initiated. There's nothing being initiated. This is an ongoing problem. Jomo Kenyatta is an ongoing concern, and there's nothing being privately initiated. So, at that point alone, you will see that you are dealing with something that is fraudulent. And when you go through this document that are called the Adani proposal, it sounds like a document that was prepared for competitive bidding.
By who?
By the KIA. This document, if you look at the language...
Are you saying that the Adani proposal is that good?
I'm saying that the Adani proposal, because if you look at it, a PPA is supposed to be a totally complete.
PPP.
The PPP is supposed to be a totally complete document with no additions and whatever. This one is like a tender document where somebody is supposed to fill in information. And if you go like when the minister came, he came with a document called the heads of terms.
Yes.
When you look at it, it's like the government is trying to improve on that document. The way you would handle a competitive tender and what have you. This document is not complete. And the Act is very clear that the document must be complete when you propose. So going through this document, you find the fingerprint of KIA is all over. The way you prepare a document for a bid. Looks like this document was done. Instead of being sold in the market through a competitive bidding, somebody invited Adani or somebody made a deal with Adani to go and try and fill it in and bring it back. It does not qualify for a PPP. Doesn't have all the components. It does not at all.
You'll tell us what's missing. I want to go back into, so you've said the law the Public-Private Procurement Act.
Yes.
Says there are different ways in which the government can engage with the private sector.
Yes.
For engagement with
five
PPP.
ways.
5 ways. One is direct procurement.
Yes.
Where the government says we have need.
Yes.
For a water dam.
Yeah.
That can hold 100 million cubic meters of water. And this will be in water. And we need a private investor to come and invest here, okay, for public good. And then you go directly and procure from a private investor.
It doesn't work like that.
A public investor. This is direct procurement.
No, direct procurement is whereby you cannot get that product anywhere else.
Yes.
Assuming you want to build a house, you want to build that dam in an area. And I'm the one who has got land where the dam is to sit. Nobody else has got that land. Or it's a computer program with intellectual property that nobody else has, and you need it. That's when you do direct procurement. Because you cannot get it in other way.
This is the only source.
Yeah, the only source is that one.
That's one.
Yes.
Restricted bidding.
Yes.
How do you do the restricted bidding?
Restricted bidding usually is where you have got maybe specialized products.
Yep.
Like when they do this currency bids and whatever, where you have got security features and whatever.
Yeah, for printing of currency.
Yes, something broadly like that. So you restrict the staff for various reasons, which might be for confidentiality or security or whatever. So you invite people,
specific
people who are known in that area.
Specific entities. Okay.
Yes, then you can invite them
to bid.
Yes.
Yeah. Competitive bidding.
Competitive bidding is the open market. You throw a tender, you float a tender, and people
We want to expand JKIA,
yes,
and we'd like anybody who has the capacity
and the interest,
to come and tell us how they can help us modernize our JKIA.
Yes.
And you must meet this.
Yes.
Then there is a privately initiated proposal. Privately initiated proposal, what does it mean?
Privately initiated. The important thing is the two words, privately initiated.
Yes.
Privately initiated is like somebody comes to Kenya and looks around and says, there's an opportunity to build a railway between, or there's an opportunity in Nairobi to do a light railway for public transport.
Yeah.
Then he develops a proposal, brings it to the government and says, this is what I'm proposing to do. I can invest in this thing, I have the money, I've got all the capacity, and these are the benefits you'll get, and allow me to grow my capital maybe for this period of year, then I can operate and hand over. So if somebody initiates it, somebody looks at it and says, there's a problem here, it's a business opportunity, I want to do it, and I have the money.
Okay. So here, the government has not gone out in any official way to invite anybody.
No, the government has not gone out to invite anybody.
Okay. At the point when Adani was presenting its PIP, had the government gone out to anybody to invite anybody to come?
It was Jomo Kenyatta is a going concern. Greenfields is a proposal that has been on the market, has been out. In fact, some contracts had been done before at one time. So there was nothing being initiated. The government wants to expand this runway. It's looking for investors who can partner with it to expand.
Would there have been room in any of the 5 that we've talked about for this to fall in? Because what you're saying is that it falls outside of the scope of what any PPP would be by virtue of the words that you've seen.
Yes.
Would there be a provision under which what
this particular one, greenfields cannot be privately initiated?
Okay.
It cannot be privately initiated. It's a government initiative. It has been out there all this time. The government has been trying to build. Even the Chinese came in at one time. There was a time they wanted to model it to the Hartsfield airport in Atlanta. So, this has been a program that has been running. It's a program on the cards. And then there are also 2 things in this thing. If you look at the Adani thing, they are saying they are going to build,
operate,
and manage.
And manage.
You see, there's been no indication that the KIA staff or Kenya Support Authority is not able to manage. So that management component, where is it going? If the runway is what we need to build and whatever, why is the management also going out? You see. So, I think the way this thing is configured is that it was configured to defeat the law, to defeat competitive bidding. And if they had just floated the tender, I'm sure that very many people want to do this job, and they would have gotten it. And if you look at this document that Adani has submitted, it sounds like a document that was going to was being prepared to call for request for interest or something like that. It's not a pure PPP document. And then the way now, after it has been received, the way it is being handled, the way the minister tried to explain himself, he gave us some 20 steps that he said they are going to...
It must be subjected to.
If you look at those steps, if you look at step, I have them here. If you look at those steps, you look at it from, I think, step 6 to around 11. There are basically steps that are followed in competitive bidding. So, the issues, and then one thing they have not done is, they have not done an evaluation. The first thing with a PPP, when you get a PPP according to the law, you have to do, the committee sits down, comes up with an evaluation criteria, they do the evaluation. That's when, after the evaluation, that's when they can go ahead.
Okay.
The minister told us they did a desktop evaluation.
Of
Adani. Desktop.
Of the entity or of the proposal?
Of the entity. They checked in terms of trying to start out with the, what do you call it? To verify its capacity to do what it was doing. They said I've done a desktop. Because there are pre-qualification. There are things that must be cleared before you look at the PPP.
Okay.
You need to know to establish that these fellows have got the money and all those kind of things. And there's requirements that for somebody to declare the benefits that will accrue to the Kenyan people and staff. So when you go through this document, and if you look at even the way the minister answered and the steps are giving us, it's like now the government of Kenya is trying to input into that PIP, and yet the law requires that the PIP must be complete for assessment.
Okay.
Now, but then you look at the process, the government is saying that they're still trying to see if they can negotiate, they can do whatever. So, really, they're dealing like they're doing an open tender where they've identified the best bidder and they would like now to settle on the terms that are beneficial. So, there's absolutely nothing in this thing that qualifies it for PPP, for PIP. So, it's not privately initiated. Yeah.
Are we saying that, and especially when the CS was in Parliament last week and asking or rather answering questions about this particular bid that you spoke of, it should be competitive. Were there other options in terms of folks that they could have considered to do this? Or were there other people, were there other organizations, other companies that they would have considered to do this work? Or did it seem as though it was designed for Adani to do it from the beginning?
Well, I don't think it was designed for Adani to do it from the beginning, but somewhere, because when you read this document the minister brought, as I've just said, they were preparing a document to call for interest and stuff like that. Then along the way, it was hijacked and given to Adani. And that's why it is, for me, falling outside the PPP protocol. The government should have used competitive bidding in this particular case, because there's nothing unique about building airports in terms of industry. So many companies do it. They should have done an expression, they should have floated the tender and let everybody compete for it, instead of doing these things under the table.
Senator, we take a break. When you come back, a couple of things that we'd like to hear from you. Number one, whether you asked the minister the steps that have been taken since 2014, when the first real initiative to expand JKIA through Greenfields started. Has Kenya Airports Authority done anything else since then, in terms of formally saying we are floating an expression of interest on the matter of expansion of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, whether it's inviting any consultants to come and help them with just an analysis of what's needed, whether it's taking a cabinet memo to cabinet and saying this is what KIA is proposing through the Ministry of Roads and Transport, and the cabinet then saying, yes, we look at it and we see the program and the implementation is on point, and cabinet passing it. All those steps, whether there were those steps that have been taken, and at what point the PIP landed, and since the PIP landed at KIA's desk, what then happened? Because then it's clear, it would be important for us to know the procedure and the steps being taken here. It's 27 minutes to 10. Our guest this morning is the senator from Busia County, Okoh Mtata, senator in the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. Keep it here. We'll be back shortly. We are discussing the expansion of JKIA, the Adani deal. Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport Davis Chirchir appeared before the Senate last week. Okoh Mtata was among those who were interrogating the CS.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, baba boy, gas imeisha, shopping imeisha, na ujue tokens bado zinalia.
Msupa, nipe mbao na 20 minutes.
Mbao, like 20 bob.
Hey.
20 minutes, kwani kuna nini? Na ujue mimi nataka kupika haki.
Jaber, kwani ujui dakika mamilini every 20 minutes, halafu wanapea na 10 million every 20 minutes, na hadi kuna 3 millionaires every hour.
Daka mamili virahisi. Uko na nafasi 3 ya kuwa millionaire kila hour. Usipitwe. Cheza daka. Ushike mita yako sasa. Chagua nambari zako 4 za bahati and win up to 10 million every 20 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill 440440. Account, Spice, amount. Cheza na shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde mamilioni. Daka mita. Kuwa bingwa.
3 to 7 p.m. doesn't need to be the dreary end-of-day routine.
Delicate. So hold on. So you do your whole body aside from your nipples. That's what you're saying.
Tune in to the Spice Drive Monday to Friday and get your engine started.
A special report. Good morning, kid. Leo, to pay our listeners some game. Imagine kuwa na a reliable squad all through your day.
Squad unaweza count on, maze.
Uta enjoy all things finance and fun. Talk of transacting seamlessly. Plus, unaweza link other bank cards kwa app. Ulipe bills easily na uweke standing orders,
Ku-access loans za kugrow life yako nayo, it's just one time.
Squad sasa ni loop. Loops here to suit your lifestyle.
No matter what your financial or lifestyle need is, the Loop Squad will be there by your side to sort you out. Download Loop today.
It's not just an app, it's a lifestyle. Why wait? Loop it. Regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Okay, so far, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 27 in a sunny Nakuru, highs of 25 in a sunny Nyeri, at 18 it's sunny in Eldoret, going to highs of 25. Mombasa sunny at 28, and Malindi at 28 is also sunny. It's 26 and sunny in Kisumu, with 24 and sunny conditions in Kakamega. At 23 it is partly sunny in Kampala, while at 26 partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam. Looking into a mostly sunny Johannesburg at 21, we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 14. While Mogadishu at 28 is sunny, highs of 30, and at 18 it is sunny in Addis with highs of 24. Round things off, Beijing at 18, Monday afternoon is sunny, and Paris at 12 is cloudy, with London 13 and cloudy. It's clear Sunday night in New York. Coming to Tuesday, we'll see highs of 25 and lows of 7.
Spice up your life.
Still continues to be a busy morning in the city. A little bit of traffic reduced here and there. I think for most parts, you'll be able to get through without an issue right about now. We're just seeing a little bit of a clog up still on Langata Road, and also then going in towards Westlands from James Gishuru. Look at all this James Gishuru in from Zima Springs still continues to be busy. That's the most of it that we'll see for now. And still some traffic on Jogoo Road. Lunga also looks pretty busy. Let's see what happens as we get through traffic hour. Talk to us through the morning. SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, our conversation continues for the next 23 minutes with Senator Okoh Mtata, the Adani deal, the expansion of JKIA. So, Senator, before Adani came with its proposal, what had the Kenya Airports Authority done?
I think there have been a lot of things that have been going on about the airport, including the attempt that Parliament started under the Uhuru administration to have Kenya Airways take over the airport. That was started. So this is something that has been there on the cards, and that's why I'm telling you it is something that cannot be. It's not privately initiated. There's nothing being initiated. It's a public project that is looking for funding. What that are looking for is for funding. If you are looking for funding, you open a tender and do it competitively, and people come. So we're not against PIPs and what have you, but this is not a PIP.
Well, it is a PIP.
No, it's in the name it's being called a PIP. But if you look at the conditions inside, it's not nearly a PIP. Yeah,
it's a PIP because it's not responding to any request for quotation a proposal.
It's not a PIP. It's not initiating anything. He has money. Other people have got money to do a project that is open. Let them advertise.
Yes.
Let us get the best deal.
So those are the two things that I think that threw people into a lot of confusion. Number one is that why was it this one individual and his business that was then given the priority? And if we're looking at signs that perhaps the contract has actually been signed, another issue is the management for such a long period of time. If you're coming in to upgrade the system, what warrants you to then now stay for 30 years when it comes to management? Because obviously with management, a good amount of the money that is then made by the airport would go into the Adani Group bottom line commercial.
Yeah. I don't know. This document the minister brought is called. Now you see this one. This one is headed. The minister's document is headed confidential.
What document is it?
It's called Heads of Terms.
Heads of Terms.
Of concession agreement. Basically, which is an agreement contract. They are trying to conceal it, but it's just headed confidential. It's not private and confidential. It's simply confidential.
Okay.
So which means non-disclosure.
Okay.
But if it is private and confidential, it means it's attached. It's assigned to an individual. It cannot be to a public body. Yeah, and that's why I was raising that red flag.
Okay.
And when you look at it, like if you look at, there are so many things that are terrible here. If you look at 2.6, the concessionaire may submit its application for grant of lease of land for city-side development at the airport, and the same will be processed by the guarantor in accordance with the applicable laws. Now, when you go through this document, this particular thing is saying that these Adani fellows want to develop a city around there.
The airport.
The airport.
Yes.
So they don't develop that infrastructure. But if you look at these terms and whatever, it is very vague. There's no full disclosure of how the land is going to be done. That we have got things that we have got contracts that have been running in between KA and the third parties. There's nothing said about those contracts, how they're going to be handled and dealt with. And so this whole thing is something somebody thought would come up with and make some quick loot. And they get away with it. Unfortunately, it came out in June. I got a message from my young man who is based in France, raising the red flag. This message went around. That's the guy who saved the situation, because everything was being done underhand. The question of transparency, accountability was not there. Public participation was not there. So when all those requirements are breached, in whose interest are they doing this thing?
And if you ask that question, then, Senator, then what would you say in terms of what could be done at this point? Because they're saying, okay, look, if we're saying that there's no need to do it in the manner in which it was done, then what is another option? Number two, open it up, because yes, the conversation has been had by the Kenya government for some time in terms of an upgrade for the airport. So what you say, open it so that you have more people bidding. What would be the way to undo what seems like a tightly, tied agreement at this point, whereby only one benefactor then is present? What would be the way to undo what this potential damage could do?
I think the best thing to do is, first of all, to abandon this whole thing, to stop it where it is. It's being done outside the law. The government cannot be exposed to any penalties because this is being done outside the law. And if you remember the duty-free shops of Ali Ibrahim and the way he lost his case when he sued the Kenyan state. Yeah. Because in part of his affidavit, he had said that he had bribed Moi, the former President Moi, to be allowed to operate the shops. And so the tribunal in, I think, Washington said, now, if you did that, then you went against Kenyan law, and therefore you cannot put anything on the sovereigns. In the same case here, you've got very clear laws. One of them is that when you come up with a policy position, there has to be public participation. It was not done. It has to be transparency and accountability. This thing is being hidden. Until somebody who happens to work in a farm where this contract was seen blew the whistle.
And if that didn't happen,
would have woken up
one day and found that it would have actually been called another kind of airport, and other things had already started to happen.
Yes.
Is it not?
It's like
the
that.
name would have been changed.
Senator,
we would have been moved on to something else.
Please give me the document that had steps, not the heads of terms one. The one that the CS gave you with the steps that were to be taken before a formal signing of a contract. Because I just want to go through the steps. When a proposal is brought and what was then supposed to happen, there are several steps, and you're saying there are 20 steps. One, the contracting authority, now we're going to call it here KAA. KAA receives the privately initiated investment proposal. The private party pays a non-refundable review fee of 50,000 USD. KAA conducts initial review of the proposal against key parameters under the PPA Act, including affordability and value for money. The PPP Directorate sets up evaluation committee, including relevant government agencies. The technical committee of the PPP assesses the evaluation report. The committee approves the project to proceed to the detailed feasibility report stage. This is feasibility report stage or the development phase. The private party conducts detailed feasibility studies and sends their findings or report to the contracting authority. The contracting authority, that's KAA here, reviews the feasibility reports and sends them to the PPP committee. The committee reviews the feasibility reports to determine the suitability. The contracting authority proceeds to negotiate with the private party on the proposed structure and content of the project agreement. Negotiations happen within 6 months. During the period, KAA, with support of the PPP Directorate, present a project and financial risk assessment report for approval. Once you have received the approval of the committee and the key aspects of the agreement are agreed on, the parties then proceed to conduct detailed due diligence and stakeholder engagement based on the actual structure. Due diligence will include legal, financial, technical. KAA presents the project agreement to the PPP committee for approval. The agreement is approved by the board of the contracting authority and the PPP committee and is sent to the AG for clearance. The concession agreement is forwarded to the cabinet by the CS in charge. The concession agreement is signed. A copy is sent to the AG for his record. The private party and the contracting authority engage with banks to get the project to where all the requirements of the bank provide for debt, and so on until the private party hands over the project in good state back to the contracting authority after this. Now, I want to look at all that where in the initial stages, step 1 up to step 10, it's all about feasibility, and this is KAA conducting feasibility and seeing, and with a PPP committee looking whether this thing makes sense. Step 11 is where the Kenya Airports Authority then proceeds to negotiate with the private party on the proposed structure and content of the project agreement. And I guess this is where now the heads of terms comes in.
Yeah.
What is the heads of terms? Heads of terms is that document right before a contract where you are all in agreement. This is how our contract shall look like. This shall be our obligation and this shall be your obligation. We are in agreement that then gets into a contract. So we are already at the heads of terms stage. Have all these other things been done?
No, they have not. In fact, number one, one of the things that were supposed to be done is under Section 40, Clause 3J of the PPP Act, is that the privately initiated proposal under Section 1 shall contain the following information. It gives all that. One of the things it should contain is a justification why the project is not suitable for open competitive procurement. It's nowhere in that document.
Justification.
Yes. That this thing cannot be procured on the open market. There's no justification for that. So they skipped, and if you look at all that you have read, those steps, when you look at them, they have skipped from Section 40, Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, and they are now somewhere around where they begin with the private party pays money into the corner place. That can only be done when the project has been approved. Has been approved and is proceeding. So they have left out the other part, like if you look at Section 4 of Clause 4 of Section 40 of the Act, they say the contracting authority shall submit a privately initiated proposal to the directorate for assessment and approval. Then the Cabinet Secretary may, by notice in the Gazette, prescribe when submissions may be made under this section. You see?
All in a public manner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you are required to have been told before even they came to the heads. They should have subjected this thing to public participation. They never did that. So they are beginning with Clause 6, where you're talking about money being paid by the private organ, and then they're trying to proceed with that. Then on the due diligence, they have also did not even submit the criteria for due diligence, which is required to be made public. So this whole process of what they are doing is an attempt to steal a march on Kenyans, end up with a fait accompli. Then they'll tell you already have a contract, and to terminate this contract,
terminate this thing, it will cost us.
So let us just kama ile damu ya ulimi umejiuma ulimi
meza tu.
Meza tu.
Ulimi ni yako, damu ni yako.
So that's what they're trying to get us. And the argument they have that there's no money and therefore we need this thing and whatever takes us back to the story of Esau and Jacob. We are not going to sell our birthright for a bowl of soup, which is coming out. The other thing I've talked about in their 20 steps. You have read one where they're saying that they now begin looking for funding. In a PPP, you already must have funding.
Yep. That's why they brought you as a private entity in. Because
that's why you are coming and saying, I've got money, I want to do this. Can you allow me to do it? So when you're talking about loans and whatever and other things, then again you lose it big. And so this thing is not a PIP. It's not a PIP. It's just an attempt to use to paint a hyena like a lamp and get in, and then the damage will be done.
The heads of terms, because that's a crucial stage.
Yeah.
What did the CS say about the heads of terms? Have they agreed on the heads of terms? Because the heads of terms actually now stipulate what the obligations when we get into an agreement. This is just a step before a formal contract is signed.
Yeah.
Have they signed the heads of terms?
Well, he said they have not signed, that they are still in the process. But as you can see, the Adani signature is here.
Adani has already signed this part?
Yes, the signature is here. These are they have signed on the document.
They've initialed
signed on each page.
They have initialed all pages.
They have initialed. So they're saying that there's no contract. But what it tells us that there's a contract is the Act itself. Because the Act has a requirement, and I asked the minister that question and he didn't answer. They say, on execution of a project agreement, the project contracting authority and the successful bidder shall establish a project company in accordance with the Companies Act 2015. Now, this having been done, they cannot try to fool us by saying that they have not signed.
Yeah, because why would you go ahead and open up a company, the subsidiary that they speak about?
Yes.
Why would you go and establish a subsidiary whose role then is essentially to conduct the business if you've not been given the business?
And this is very, very clear, Section 68 of the Act. It's very clear that the company is formed after there has been a deal, an agreement, sort of. So, for me, there's a lot of concealment. And you know, as I do that, concealment has just one weapon that makes it succeed. I mean, in fraud only thrives on where there's concealment. Where there's transparency, you cannot have fraud. So this is a massive attempt to conceal this project, and it's totally against the law, and I think maybe ultimately the answer might lie with the judiciary. Yeah.
The parliamentary probe, the probe in the Senate.
Yeah.
It's being spearheaded by the Departmental Committee on Transport.
Yes.
So apart from the CS for roads, who else is this Transport Committee speaking to?
I wanted to call the director of the PPA section next, but I think we're going to demand that a few more people come. You have got the minister for finance.
Yeah.
Both the current and the previous holder will need to be summoned. You have got the board
of
KIA. We need to be summoned. And for them, they are serving graces that they seem to have rejected this thing. Because when this document the minister brought, the very last document was the minutes by the board. And they are saying that let me just look for the place. There's a place they are saying that it was observed that the project has attracted interest from different quarters in government, making it difficult to advance a common position as the government. So you see, there are interests fighting within government over this project. The board sought clarification as to whether KIA management had an internal committee with KIA's positions on all aspects of the project, or it was reported that the negotiations were being undertaken by KIA represented by general managers responsible for procurement, finance, human resources, and whatever. So the committee seems to have raised questions. And if you look at their minutes, they are not approving of this project. It's like it's being done away from the board, which is wrong. It's being run by interest in the government, the ministry, which is wrong. So we are also going to demand that the board appears before the committee to explain to us. We would also want to have somebody like the former minister who was in charge
when this started.
Mr. Murkomen, to appear before the committee, and we grill him. So there are very many things that we need to do to get out the information that is required to understand this thing.
Are you a member of the committee?
No, I'm not a member of the committee.
Okay.
I just got interested. This is Senator Sifuna, Senator Lekina, Senator Chererkei, myself, and the mover of the motion, Senator Nyonka, are not members of the committee.
Okay.
But because the issues of national importance, we decided to intervene and help the committee push this document to the logical conclusion. We want to avoid a situation like what happened when Honorable Linturi on the fertilizer saga was cleared, and there were no consequences. Who else was then to be followed? So that's why we have come in and tried to reinforce the strength of the committee to say that in this particular case, no stone remains unturned, and we want all those turned stones, we want to look under them and tell the public what we see. Sometimes they turn the stones, they look under, they don't tell you what they have seen.
You see.
But in this case, we want to tell you what we have seen. And we are determined to see that this thing does not go anywhere, because it will be auctioning a section of this country and a critical infrastructure that have not been thought through. Like the question that was asked, the military uses the
airport.
The airport and the what you call
infrastructure,
the radar system.
the radar.
Yeah. They don't have what happens when it falls in private hands.
And will it be compromised?
Yeah, will it compromise the security of the country? The other question was, given the track record of Dani, even as we were sitting, I think just recently, there was an issue in Switzerland with them. How did they even pass the initial bar of integrity? How are they? So basically, there's total non-compliance with the law, and it's also saving grace because we need to move and block it. Otherwise, we are going to get ourselves in deep trouble, whereby this contract will be sealed in circumstances where the public interest has not been addressed.
Let me ask, Senator, procedurally, has the fact that the Senate or even the National Assembly have commenced a probe into this, does it stop KAA from continuing with conversations with Adani?
No, it does not stop.
So if the probe,
until an order is issued.
So if this probe continues, and we've seen probes in Parliament going on for 6 months, 7 months, and within that time a deal is signed, is there any recourse?
Well, the only recourse would be that maybe you tell them that now that you have signed this thing, you carry the airport to India and operate it from India. Not from where it is. Yeah. There's that option where the people themselves now will come up and say, okay, we shall take up direct democracy and what watasalamiwa.
Can Parliament stop this deal?
Yes, Parliament can stop it. It has the power to stop it as an oversight organ because the airport was built using taxpayers' money.
This is true.
And the Parliament is a custodian of the public interest. Parliament has the capacity to stop it where it is. After it is contracted, Parliament lacks the tools to stop it. If there's a contract, not only the courts can do it.
Well, if we see the establishment of subsidiary, also we know that there's a fee, nominal or otherwise, that has already been paid. What happens in that instance now?
Now, that's what I'm saying, that it may be the best thing that will happen with Parliament is to be able to bring out the documentation. And then, with that documentation, we can have an audit through the courts. And that's when we'll get, it's the courts which have got the orders to quash those contracts if they are not anchored on the law.
Okay.
And I think from what is coming out, I don't see why any competent court would allow this thing to go through.
Senator, we thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Let's see how this one plays out. When the next person comes in, we'll invite you again and again so we can get to understand what's being unearthed in these probes. Senator from Busia County, Okoh Mtata, has been our guest. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Do have yourselves a lovely day. We'll be back tomorrow morning. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Lydiah Ubaga, and back to Senator Okoh Mtata, who has reaffirmed the Senate's claims that the controversial takeover of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport by Indian firm Adani is a done deal. Speaking on SpiceFM,